Welcome to the Bard of All Trades podcast. I'm your host, Cowboy Brad the Bard. Today, I have Danny Katz, the BJJ black belt from Saga BJJ, also the lawyer who will protect your music. If you are into the metal scene, he can take care of you. But before we get into it, try and shout out to my sponsors. I want to shout out Saga BJJ for free today because that's how we got to meet. Yep. And I threw the sticker up here, so Kyle don't have to beat me up tonight for a pro comp class. Additionally, Valley Jiu-Jitsu, if you guys want a week free of Jiu-Jitsu, mention the Bard, take a visit. You get a week for free to learn how to beat people up. Additionally, B&B Media, if you're looking for someone to film your gig, or perhaps you want somebody to live stream your event, hit us up. We'll take care of you. All that information is in the description. Finally, darklegacy.net. If you guys want to see some really awesome creative writing and horror sci-fi stuff, check that website out for some incredible content. And finally, shout out to my Patreon supporters, Sam and Chris. Thank you very much. What's up, man?
How's it going?
I'm pretty good, man. I'm actually going to take this off. It's getting hot. So let's talk a little bit about the BJJ. We can start there because obviously that's like the common denominator that we have here. So
Right.
we're both sauce team guys here, and I'm curious about your jiu-jitsu journey. Where'd you start, and how'd you end up at Saga?
Well, it all really started with karate, which I think is true of a lot of people.
Yeah,
My
for
dad
sure.
was a Shotokan black belt. And, growing up, I was like, oh, my dad's such a badass. I want to do martial arts. So I did karate and taekwondo when I was younger, and it was cool. Didn't do any of it super competitively or anything like that, but I had fun. I think I was in my early 20s, late teens, started watching UFC, Pride, and you see all these little guys just tying these huge guys up in knots, and I was like, oh shit, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Want to learn that. Fast forward to my late 20s, kind of just bored, need something to do when I'm not playing music or on tour or, doing schoolwork or working. Signed up at a place in Chalfont at the time, Rosendo Diaz BJJ.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Trained there for a while until 2020. I was moving out of the area. Yeah, life changes were coming my way. Things come up as they always do. So right after I got my black belt, I decided I was going to go somewhere else, and that was Saga. It was Paper Street at the time.
Yeah.
Kyle had dropped in to train. One of my good friends trained at Paper Street, so I knew kind of enough people there to know I'd get really good training, and I wouldn't have to suffer from big fish in a small pond syndrome. I knew I'd get my ass kicked frequently and still do.
Yeah.
So landed at Saga, been there since July of 2020 now, and it's great. Love being there. Great atmosphere, really welcoming, inclusive, safe. My wife and daughter both train there too, which is huge for me.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. So, yeah, I noticed that, on your Instagram, you had posted that she's been training. So how long has she been training with you?
My wife or my daughter?
Your wife, yeah.
My wife and I actually met at our old academy.
Yeah.
And we didn't train together then.
Yeah.
So that was, an interesting thing to get over for both of us. Once we started dating, it was well, you're higher ranked than me. I don't want to be her instructor. So that was a weird thing we got over.
Yeah.
But we got over it pretty quick. Now, when we travel, as we do a lot, we'll drop in at a school. She's definitely one of my favorite training partners. Mostly for the shit we can talk to each other while training.
Yeah, for sure.
The names we call each other while we're trying to strangle each other. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's definitely got to be good. I think that's one of the big calling cards I think of a good gym is if the banter's good, know, it's a good spot.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. And she's pregnant right now, if I'm correct.
Yep.
And she's still training. That's pretty badass, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. When she first got pregnant, we were well, we don't know how this is going to work. All we knew was that I was going to be the only one to train with her because obviously it's always going to be in the back of my mind that she's pregnant.
Of
and
course.
The guys at the gym are great and all, but you get into a hard roll, it's hard to think about anything other than rolling.
Of course.
So, she's been training at least once a week. Last week she got in 3 times. It's really funny because now she's a pressure player and it sucks.
Yeah.
Whereas before that, wasn't really her game. Now I'm just
Yeah.
my fucking jaw hurts every time we roll. Stop.
That's awesome.
But it's been cool. Just being able to do that with my wife and then, my daughter getting to see her do that too. I can tell it inspires her because it keeps my daughter training, thinking oh, I'll get to train with Allison one day. Yeah. So it's cool.
That's pretty sick, man.
Yeah.
So have you done a lot of competitions? I know you definitely have gone around, but I'm curious, what are some of your favorite ones that you've done?
I've done, at blue, purple, and brown, I definitely competed more. But as my kid gets older, as my body gets more decrepit, and as my responsibilities mount, I haven't been competing as much. There was definitely a point during purple belt where I was competing multiple times a month. Doing all your good fights, your Nagas, your new breeds, some super fights here and there, which is my favorite format. I like that idea. You're just like training for one person, and you know, 2 men enter, 1 man leaves, kind of shit.
So like fight to win kind of thing.
I never got it on a fight to win. I applied to a bunch. My excuse would always be, well, I'm from a small school and I'm old as shit, so they're probably looking at me like, now we're gonna get these young, exciting kids that can move a little faster than you. But I mean, I'd love to do one. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, you've done other super fights though.
Yeah, I have.
Were you on the Riverfront card?
No, I wasn't.
Oh, man, I'm trying to. I know I've seen you fight before. I'm trying to remember when it was.
Maybe a UGC.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know I've shared some cards with Andrew on like the old UGC super
sense.
fights.
Yeah, that's sick.
Yeah, they were fun.
What are your walkout songs when you're doing these?
Well, actually, normally I try to like shout out one of my friends, even though like, who cares? There's like 10 people in the audience and even less people watching. But last one was Mare Cognitum. I forget what song. I think... I don't know. Some Mare Cognitum
so it's some
song.
band that you actually know the members of.
Yeah, some like wild black metal shit or death metal shit that gets me hyped up.
Hell yeah, dude.
I figured maybe for like the next super fight, I would just throw a complete curveball in it and hit like Miley Cyrus or something like that.
Or something.
Yeah, why not?
That's so funny, man. Yeah, I think choosing the right walkout song is like a good way to get like the crowd interested in like a person one way or the other. Like if I don't know either of the guys that are fighting, I'll totally like choose the guy like the song of more as like the guy I want to win, you know?
Oh yeah, I'm such a judgmental prick about music too. Like people will walk out to like bad new metal or something like, oh god, I hope that guy dies instantly.
It's like pop his fucking shit, dude.
Yeah, right.
That's funny as fuck. But that's awesome, man. So how long have you been training?
I started really training in April of 2010, but I was in law school at the time, so there would be like months that I would go without training. I would say like I got serious about training in 2012. And that's also when I started competing. I said to myself before I started, I was like, well, I don't need to compete. I just want to be good at this. And then I've always been the kind of person that wants to see what I'm capable of. And I was like, well, there's no other way to know other than to do it. So I did it, fell in love with it. Like that rush of being like, oh shit, like, I have to
Pressure's
go do this.
on.
Like I really liked it. So I kept up competing like pretty much. I mean, I competed as recently as last summer. I drove out to Pittsburgh with my wife to do a Naga. That was fun.
That's sick, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. She competes as well?
She has, obviously,
that
being
one wasn't.
Yeah, being pregnant, she's not super into competing while pregnant for some weird reason.
I don't get it.
But she has said she wants to get back to it, which is cool.
Yeah.
I won't be cornering her unless she wants me to. I want her to be able to direct her journey.
Yeah.
But obviously, like, I'd be training with her to get her ready if she wanted.
Yeah, no, that's sick, man.
Yeah,
that's cool that you're like letting you're not like taking agency over like the journey that she's gonna have.
Nah, I mean that's her shit. Like when I met her, she was already training first of all, so it's not like she got into this for me. And that's a big problem I see in the jiu-jitsu community as a whole, like people trying to take agency over people's journey or people's lives. Like this idea that like because we're black belts, we know anything other than jiu-jitsu, looking for like social or political commentary from black belts. Like I find that ridiculous. Like they're just fucking human beings.
Yeah, seriously. I had Jay Regalbutter on the show, and one of the things that he said is like if you have a student that's like the diamond in the rough in your academy and you try to keep them to yourself because there's going to be recognition for you because of how well they're performing, but you're keeping them from growth because of like how limited the scale like can be in your gym. Maybe it's Nicky Rod and you don't have a bunch of 200-pound plus dudes, you know what I mean, in your gym. He's always saying like you have to let them go on their journey and encourage them to find what's gonna push them to the next level. Yeah. So that's definitely awesome to hear you say the same thing, man.
Yeah, I just think I don't know, like maybe it was different before I started where there wasn't this flood of information on the internet. Like we all know the same moves at this point.
Yeah.
The idea that like cross training should be banned or like you owe some sort of loyalty outside of like a consumer relationship. I mean, obviously, in my opinion, you do owe loyalty to some extent, but you're still a consumer. If you're not happy in your gym, get the fuck out. Go somewhere else.
100%. I think really what it comes down to your point, is like there's some the consumer relationship is with the gym, but I think like it goes further when it's your team.
Of course.
Like I was saying this with Kyle as well. It's like the thing I really love about competing isn't me on the mat. It's me walking out with my team, like the Spartan 300. You know what I mean? Like we're going in to like push ourselves and be there for each other. And that's the most fun thing about that, you know?
Yeah, I love that too. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think it's just like strictly a consumer thing. Like Maida and Kyle, I love those guys.
Of course.
Like,
yeah, dude.
I have a blast hanging out with them.
Tight. It's such a tight.
I mean, those are my homies, and I'm lucky to be able to train with people like that, you know? Yeah. And I do think to even make a gym worth staying in, you have to feel that way about those people. Like, you have to have friendships, you know, not necessarily be friends with everybody, but like what's going to keep you in a gym is friendships.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more. So how did you meet Kyle?
Kyle, so like I said, a really good friend of mine trains at Paper Street. Like this is somebody I know completely outside of jiu-jitsu through music. He started training jiu-jitsu and like sent me some like sneaky joke text like, my fingers really hurt and I've got burns on my feet. What do you think I was doing tonight? And basically he ended up training at Paper Street. Yeah. Kyle was, I think, getting ready for a competition or something, and Kyle asked my buddy Tim, like, hey, do you think your buddy Danny would be cool with me dropping in at his school? And I, of course, welcomed him. Kyle came in. I was running the day program there like I do at Saga.
Nice.
Kyle came in for a class. We kicked the shit out of each other. He ripped my head off a few times, and just since then we've kept in touch and trained together. And then as soon as it was time for me to find a new gym, I was like, well, I know exactly where I'm going.
Yeah. Dude, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
It seems like a very like shoe fits kind of scenario.
I mean, basically, he likes heavy metal and ripping people's heads off. So I was like, "This is the guy."
Yeah,
this guy.
We like the same things.
Yeah.
Go do karate in the garage.
Right. Exactly.
That's sick, man. So let's talk a little bit about. It's interesting that you kind of got into jiu-jitsu at the same time with the law stuff, and I know you said like your main focal point with law is music. So can we talk a little bit about that journey? Like, what made you decide that was the path that you wanted to go on for your career?
The law school thing. I grew up in a family of union side labor lawyers. Like, there's pictures of my grandfather marching with workers like at the front of picket lines, and like that was just always a really inspiring thing to me. Like seeing him do that, and my dad followed in his footsteps, and they actually worked together. So I grew up around lawyers, so I kind of grew up without the stigma of like all lawyers are assholes, which when I became a lawyer, I found out that stigma is actually true, and all lawyers are in fact assholes. My family just wasn't.
Yeah.
So I kind of knew that was what I was going to do, and like I wasn't really good at anything else. I was always like a good English student.
Yeah, well, it seems like if you're raised by them, like you have a natural tendency to the practice.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, like you would think, but it never really helped me other than in labor law class. Like it helped me once. I was like, oh shit, now I know all these words. But other than that, I was like, oh my God, being a lawyer is fucking tough.
For sure.
But just like seeing that and seeing like their desire to actually like help people and do the right thing, kind of inspired me. And like I said, you know, I was a terrible science student. I think I have like an 8th grade level math. I'm not kidding. Like I'm worried that when my kid gets to high school, she's going to ask me for help with math. And I'm going to be like, I have no idea. But yeah, it just was interesting to me. When I first started to pursue that path in college, I wanted to be a criminal attorney. I wanted to do criminal defense work. And I've done some of that stuff, but really picky about what I take, like DUIs and like marijuana possession and shit like that. I have no problem doing those sorts of cases, but I remember I was a super young lawyer, out on my own. I've always worked for my own firm and was pretty poor, frankly.
Yeah.
I got like an email in the middle of the night offering me like $50,000 to take on a sex crimes case, and I was just like, nope, not doing that. And I've like kept to it since. It's just always been a rule of mine to like never do that kind of shit. And as like my clientele grows and I do different kinds of stuff, I get to do less criminal, which is nice because I hate that shit.
Yeah, for sure, dude. That's crazy, man. Like, the amount of money, right? It's like, oh, this is cool. What's the category? Ugh.
Oh, yeah. It was like life-changing money at the time. And like the guy was so shady about it. He was like, I'm having an issue. And like, this is over email. This isn't like an instant conversation. It was late at night. And I'm just like, what kind of issue? And then he's like, I'm being accused of something. What are you being accused of? And then he's like, a sex crime. And I'm just like, can't help. Like,
can't
fuck
help.
that.
Sorry.
Nope.
Yeah, not my expertise.
I mean, it was just something that like he could be the most innocent person in the world, but I'm not chancing that shit. And this was before I was a father, so like, you know, since then it's only gotten worse with that kind of stuff. Like,
I bet, man. The internet is a very transparent place if you're a bad guy.
Yeah.
There's ways to snoop. That's pretty crazy stuff. And speaking of that, do you ever have situations where, I was kind of talking about this with my last guest a little bit, you see like the use of Signal like is popping in Ukraine, like 80% use rate in Signal is like for Signal users in Ukraine has like it's been increased by 80%. That was a terrible sentence. Jeez.
I understood.
Yeah. But yeah, have you ever run into like an issue maybe where like there was a case where like someone was denying access to like encrypted messages that were like crucial to a case?
Not anything like that, simply because like I said, I deal with like low level shit, but I have like read things about that, and I do know for a fact that during the George Floyd protest there was a ton of Signal and Telegram and other like encrypted uses, and I actually not to get political because I don't really want to do that, but I offered my services to some of the protesters, and a lot of them were using like Signal to text message me and stuff, and that's when I got it to really be able to like work with them and coordinate things.
That's awesome. I when I found out about like when Edward Snowden was doing his whistleblowing thing, he was actually using something even like more secure. Like it was a thing where Signal has like I send a message, Signal, like it gets encrypted and Signal's server passes it to you, right?
Right.
This is like I own my own server and you pass the message to my server and it goes like this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what Edward Snowden was doing. I think he was using like some kind of like matrix protocol thing. It's pretty like legit stuff though. Like I've always like interested to hear stories about that stuff though. It's pretty cool stuff,
I haven't had a ton of experience with it. I do use some of those chat programs with like international clients too, just because it's easier. Like it saves everybody money on their phone bill and shit. Yeah. And before the pandemic ruined everybody's ability to have fun. When I had international clients that were touring and they had a quick question about like a contract or dealing with something with a promoter, like it was just a real quick, easy way to be like, hey, Danny, this is going on, and I can deal with it.
Definitely. Well, like to your point that you just brought up, this is a great talking point that I was wanting to bring up with you. I wanted to know, like, how did COVID affect like your clients, like in the music industry and stuff like that? Because I know, like for me, I used to host like an open mic. I had pretty consistent gigs. I ended up losing a band because of COVID because we just stopped booking, and like now that some things are coming back up, I had to make a new entirely new project. And it's like stressful, man. Like art took a hit from COVID. You know?
I mean, not to downplay the damage to other industries,
of course,
but I would honestly say the entertainment industry as a whole has gotten it the worst. A really easy example, and I've used this in conversation with a couple people talking about how COVID's changed the scope of my work and like the way I work. I had a client who was essentially one of the bigger like booking touring managers around for metal and like underground acts, and basically had to pivot to becoming a merchandise company during the pandemic because they lost 80% of their business like that. It just vanished. And the problem is shit's still uncertain. I mean, you see like shows are happening now, but then shows are getting canceled. Tours are booked and then they're falling apart. A really good example of that was last year I went to that Psycho Las Vegas Fest out in Vegas. It's like a bunch of fucking terrible metal bands and then like 3 or 4 bands I really wanted to see. Yeah. All the bands I wanted to see had to drop off other than one. Damn. Because they were European bands and they were banned from entering the country. And I mean, the fest seems like it still did well and they rebooked all the bands for this year, but I'm not rushing to buy another ticket. I mean, life shit aside, because they might cancel again.
Yeah, for sure. Can you tell me a little bit about that festival? Like how I've never been to a metal show in Vegas. I have to assume like there was some chairs getting thrown around or something.
I mean, everyone seemed to be pretty well behaved.
Oh, really?
To be fair, I did not spend a lot of time in the venues because, like I said, the bands I really wanted to see, most of them canceled. But I got to see Pig Destroyer while standing like waist deep in a pool with my wife, so that was fucking really cool. Like that was a really unique experience. Yeah. And then if you got VIP, they called it High Roller because of course they fucking did. Yeah. There was like a private area later at night where you could like watch the bands from like a hot tub, and like they had these like huge patio mattresses and shit. So like me and my buddy Jake were standing in a hot tub watching Dying Fetus play while my wife's just like laying below us on a fucking mattress. And I was just like, all right, I'm spoiled. Metal shows are fucking ruined. I need a hot tub at every metal show or I'm not going. I mean, the mix of people's insane, obviously.
Yeah, like
Vegas.
I'm sure there's an area that's like moshing while you're chilling up there. Like, that's funny as hell.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking down like, you moshing peons. I am comfortable in a hot tub. Yeah.
That's awesome. What's can you tell me any metal shows that you've been to? Like, do you have any good like mosh stories that you can tell me?
Oh God, I mean,
just from like shows you've been to.
Oh yeah, I mean, growing up in like punk and hardcore, like the underground shit, like there was always ridiculous things. Like I remember when Philly had a reputation of moshing with like locks and beanies, and like that shit was true. Like I remember being 16 years old, going to shows in West Philly at places like the Kill Time, and just like it was terrifying. Like it was so exciting to me.
For sure.
Because here's these violent fucking lunatics that are just moshing ridiculously, like climbing on chandeliers and shit. And it was just a really, really exciting time. So just lots of shit like that, people moshing real hard. I remember it was like Madball, Hatebreed, and a bunch of other terrible bands that I regrettably liked in high school. I remember getting punched in the
guilty
face.
pleasures are fine when no one can kick your ass.
They're not pleasures anymore. I don't know what the fuck was wrong with my ears, but I remember getting punched in the face with a pair of brass knuckles at the Electric Factory, of all fucking places.
Yeah.
And like, looking up, like holding my face together and being like, oh God, that guy's fucking huge. What am I going to go do about this? So basically it was put a fucking piece of ice on my face and sit there like that.
Dude, I've been to the Electric Factory once, and they were pretty strict about what you're getting in there, and I was not seeing a metal show. I think I was going to see Walk Off the Earth, that Canadian hippie band with some friends.
I mean, this guy came in with the band. He was, he was part of one of the crews. And like, I'm not going to speak too much on that because those guys are kind of dangerous. And I like my nice, quiet, happy life now.
Fair enough. That's crazy, dude. Oh my God. Did they chip a tooth or anything?
It fucked me up pretty badly. And like the good part was I wasn't living at home anymore, so I didn't have to explain to my parents why my shit was all fucked up. But it was still like, I remember my girlfriend at the time like, you gonna stop going to these stupid shows? No.
Yeah.
Nope. Sorry. And 20 years later, nope, I'm definitely not.
Yeah. There was one show I went to see. It was at the Troc in Philly.
Yep.
And I remember it was an encore. And the last song we were doing like the Wall of Death thing.
Yeah.
So like you just like they were doing the chugs waiting for like the moment. And he's like, oh, you know what I mean? So we slammed together, like it's me and my friends versus them. And I remember just like I'm just like shouldering in, and I don't fall, but like I stumble through like a ton of people, and there's one dude on the floor, and I pick him up, and I like get him up. I'm like, you're good, and he's like, dude, my glasses. And I look, and I'm like, they're fucking gone.
Yeah,
man.
you're not finding those.
They're fucking gone, dude. That's so crazy, dude. Like, why would you even do that wearing glasses? It's so crazy, dude.
I mean, the hardcore shows and the punk shows, like, they were always fun. Like, I mean, I was one of those crazy assholes moshing. Like, even as recently as, like, 2012, the one hardcore band I still listen to, American Nightmare, did a reunion show after 10 years, and I was like, well, I'm going to go do a front flip off the stage of Webster Hall, and I just fucking ran up on stage and boop, right into the crowd. And
so they caught you?
Oh, yeah.
All right, nice.
Yeah, I mean, thank God.
Thank God. Yeah, I was going to say right about the shit.
But yeah, that used to be like the band I would go the craziest for. Like they played at Lenape Middle School, actually up in Doylestown. Like there was a big music fest there. Yeah, I don't know how. Like apparently, I was told by somebody who went to that school that like the school would rent space during school breaks to raise money.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I ended up like climbing on the rafters of the cafeteria, just like hanging and then dropping on people during their set. And, I have a lot of fun. Me being a shithead memories associated with that band.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. So you've been to like dozens of shows probably, man. It sounds like you were pretty active.
I mean, there's definitely been points where it'd be like 4 times a week,
Jeez,
and that's not even like when I was playing shows.
Yeah.
And then you get old and jaded, and you're like, I'm only getting my ass to a show if I really want to see the bands.
Yeah.
Although I will say, like the first opportunity I had to go to a show as soon as COVID was over or whatever the fuck, I jumped on it, and it wasn't even a band I was like super stoked to see. It was like a show, cool, in a parking lot.
Yeah,
band is kind of okay, whatever. Let's go.
Yeah, for real. That's awesome though. So with the bands that you've done like the law stuff for, can you tell me a little bit about that? Like how does your career mesh with like the music stuff? I'm curious, like what exactly are you doing?
So generally what I always try to do as a big overview is to try to make the band more professional, which explaining to underground bands a lot of the time, like the fuck do we need that for? But what I tend to do is like I will set bands up as LLCs or some sort of corporate formation, generally LLCs. I really haven't done much of anything else. I copyright their songs. I help them get contracts in place for promoters. If there's like a band leader and he's just hiring people, I make sure the session contracts are tight. If they're trying to put a sample in any of their songs, I work on clearance for them. And I deal with record labels on both ends of things. Sometimes I'll work for the label. Other times I work for the band. Generally, it's nothing too exciting, but it's just enriching because I know that, like, from being a musician and being surrounded by musicians, like nobody knows what the fuck they're doing. They're just picking up their instrument and hoping that they're having fun. And, most people don't have grand designs of being a rock star in the kind of music that I listen to and the bands I've been in. But that doesn't mean you should be unsafe. That doesn't mean people should be able to steal your shit, rip you off. Like, you should have the right to go, hey, I don't want you printing a shirt. That's not cool, and get it taken down.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting to think about that stuff. If you could give just a general quick tip to any band that's forming now, they're in their infancy of playing shows and stuff, what would be some
other than call me, take your shit seriously. You never know where it's gonna end up, and you never know what problems are gonna arise. You can be in a band with your best friends, and something's gonna come up, and the fact that you don't have a document that guides you what to do in that situation can seriously create issues, erode friendships, and cause bands to break up.
For sure. So this is I'm gonna ask you some questions just while we're on this topic that I've always had curiosity about, and maybe it'll help someone out there as well. Sure. So I tend to do a lot of collaborative projects, and I really enjoy sharing the creative vision of the songs or whatever it might be. So what's this best strategic way? Let's say, I'll give you a really good example. Let's say I even have stickers up there of this old band, The Climbing, that I was in. Let's say I wanted to use one of the songs we wrote back then, but the band has disbanded and we never had a formal contract written up. Who has rights to the songs that were written by the band?
So it depends. The way copyright works is that it exists at the time of creation. Now, that's separate from registration. Registration's a whole different thing. You register for the purpose of putting your name on it and for litigation purposes. So technically, who owns the song? Anybody who created it. What does that mean? That's up to a judge.
Vague, yeah.
It's a really vague thing. So in a situation like that, the best way to pursue something would be hey, other guys in band, I want to reuse this. Is that cool? If they say no, legally maybe you can't, but strategically, if the song's not registered, the fuck are they going to do about it?
Yeah.
I mean, that comes back to a main problem in the music industry, that a lot of people don't have the money or resources to litigate or do anything about things that are done wrong to them. So, in a situation like that, you would kind of be good to go unless they had a lot of money and wanted to sue you. And even then, it would be hard to argue that it wasn't your creation as well.
Yeah. So I know about some labels that people have recommended to me. I've actually never put my money, or I've never put my music anywhere other than Bandcamp, similar to some stuff that you were sending me. And I've never put it on Spotify or anything like that. And I have the WAV files and the stems for all the things, but I've never gone through the process of putting it out. So I wonder DistroKid was always a recommended thing to me. What do you think? Do you have a recommendation on one of those labels?
You mean one of those aggregators? Yeah. I mean, I've heard good things about DistroKid. I know a lot of my clients will use DistroKid or CD Baby.
CD Baby.
Mm-hmm. When I ran a label, we used a company called Archival, which seems to be a smaller company, but their customer service is great, and it's fucking brain dead simple. Literally, we just sent them the label's whole digital catalog, and they're like, all right, we're going to take a percentage every month and then cut you a check. So we didn't have to pay shit up front, which was really appealing to me, because I know DistroKid, CD Baby, you have to pay a yearly fee or whatever.
Really? It's a yearly fee?
Yeah, I believe. Don't quote me on that. Like I said, I've never personally used it, but I do know a lot of those aggregators, it's a fee. So it was just easier for me to be all right, well, I don't have to think about any of this shit. I just send you a spreadsheet with all the metadata and then all the WAV files, and you just do everything.
I might have to hit you up about that.
Yeah. No, I'd be glad to help.
Yeah. So let's say I mentioned this to you before, where I do a lot of collaboration and stuff. Mm-hmm. Let's say me and you collaborated on a song with maybe two other people, right? And I wanted to make a music video and put it on YouTube and use the song that we all collectively created. What is the best way to make sure that the monetization end of things, if it got monetized, made sure to benefit everybody?
Put it in a contract. Honestly, in a situation like that, what I would recommend is everybody set up a joint account. All the money goes in there. Everybody has access to the account. Full transparency. And that could be something as simple.
A bank account.
Yeah, honestly. I mean, the way I see it, in situations like that, when you're partnering with somebody, as much as you can put things above board so everyone has equal access and knowledge, the better. I mean, it could be something simple like a PayPal. Like all the money gets funneled to a PayPal. Everyone can see it going in and out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But you know, in a situation like that, I'd also say and get an agreement.
Yeah.
You know, and delegate too. That's another thing I stress to bands when I'm working with them. Like, you know what the guys in your band are good at, you know? Like, somebody's good with money. Somebody's good with talking to people. Somebody's good at booking shows. Delegate. And put that in an operating agreement that you all sign. That way, if somebody starts fucking around, you can be like, yo, do your job.
Yeah.
And I know it kind of sucks, like, the fun and passion out of art in some ways, putting it like this, but, I mean...
If you want to be successful, it's a smart way to do it. I actually was having this conversation with one of the guys in the band that I'm trying to put together now. And I was saying, like, in previous bands that I've been in, like, maybe I was one of the better, more technically oriented people, like, with the way, like, I think about things, and, like, with social media and, like, posting on, like, you know, consistent times and days. So I was thinking, at the time, I was like, everyone's got to, like, be posting, like, you got to do Tuesday, I got to do Thursday, etc. But if I'm better at it, maybe I should do that and then offload, like, a different task to somebody else, kind of thing. So it's interesting to hear you say that, because it's, like, something that I've grown my ideas about, like, over time.
Yeah, I mean, like, I look at the last band that I was in that actually toured, Sovereign, and, like, everybody kind of had a thing that we could all do. Like, our drummer, Trevor, was, like, a money guy. He was super fucking organized and just, like, had, like, spreadsheets for all of our merch and, like, all the money coming in, going out, and it was, like, cool. I don't have to think about that at all. Jeremy, our guitar player, he was the driver. You know, if we needed to play a show, he was like, all right, we need to be here this time, load up this time, and go. Bass player Ross, he was the guy that was great at talking to other people. He was really good at, like, booking shows, making connections, like, getting us on things. And I guess my job was I was good at talking generally. Like, I was, like, the voice of the band, which is, you know, I was the singer too. But aside from that, like, I was the one that, like, would say ridiculous things on social media and get people angry, but whatever, it still made people pay attention.
Yeah.
But the point is, like, we all kind of had, like, a role, and we all fell into it naturally. And it made us pretty successful until, you know, I decided to do the horrible thing of having a child and decided I didn't want to tour anymore. Yeah. But that's neither here nor there.
No, that's definitely how it goes. So it's interesting you're talking about merch and stuff. I've only tried merch in a handful of bands, and it always seems like it's pretty difficult to do it in a way that you know you're going to get your money back or even make profit. Like when you invest in a bunch of T-shirts, for example.
Right.
What are some ideas that you have on that, like that you've found success with?
I completely disagree with you, actually.
Really?
I think that is the best way for any band and even like small businesses like jiu-jitsu academies to make money.
Yeah.
I think you have to know your audience, though.
Okay.
One thing that Sovereign was really good about is we had diverse designs. Like, if we would do a lot of shirts on both black and white, because, you know, some people want black shirts, some people want white shirts. And another thing is that a lot of bands just shit out these horrible, like, 9-color designs on shirts that feel like paper bags. Like, you got to make sure that shit's comfortable. Like, do you want to wear your own merch? If the answer is no, other people aren't going to want to either.
Yeah.
Another thing is,
paper bags.
I mean, like, you know, those fucking Gildans.
Yeah,
that just, like,
dude. Yeah, it's like if you sweat in it, it's just like weighs 8 pounds.
Yeah, and then it fucking shrinks, and you have a belly shirt the first time you watch it. Like, nah, fuck that. Yeah, invest another $1 or $2 a shirt to make it comfortable.
Yeah.
But I think the main thing is, like, just know your audience. Know who you're selling things to. Be realistic. Like, you know, most screen printing places normally do, like, a starting run size of, like, 24, and then it goes to 48, and so on and so forth. If you're not going to sell 72 shirts, don't buy 72 shirts. Yeah, I can't count how many bands I've seen with, like, these fucking massive merch tubs of just, like, yeah, we've had this shit for a year and it's not selling. Well, it's because you bought too much.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes with pressing records, you know? Like, a lot of people have these grand ideas. They want to press, like, 1,000 CDs or, like, 500 records, and it's like, no one's going to fucking buy that, man. Like, I mean, some bands, that's not even close to enough.
Yeah.
But if that's not your band, don't buy that much.
Yeah, be smart about it. I think an interesting thing that I've seen, I had these guys on the podcast before. They're like a jazz band, and they went to school for music, so they had a pretty good professional idea of things. But a really cool thing, I wish I had the CD because I would show you. What they did is, when you buy the physical disc, there's a QR code and a serial number that also gives you a digital copy on their Bandcamp. Yep. It's a really cool way to do that.
Download cards are in a lot of places that print CDs will include a download card as well. Same with vinyl. Every record my label put out, we would either sell through Bandcamp so people could get digital contemporaneously with the physical, or we included a download card. And I think that's a really good idea because, quite frankly, like, modern cars don't have fucking CD players. Neither do modern computers.
Yeah,
so,
for real,
you know,
man.
maybe this person buying it just wants like a physical artifact, but they want to be able to listen to it digitally.
Yeah,
So you got to make that available to them.
definitely. Is there so you know, we're both musicians. We both kind of know, like, Spotify, you're making less than a penny, like, for like anything.
I could do a whole fucking podcast on how much I hate Spotify.
Yeah,
but...
we can dive into it a little bit, because I bet you know things that I don't, and you'll further like make me want to use Bandcamp even more. So can we talk? Yeah, let's just actually dive into that. Like, tell me the differences between Bandcamp and Spotify and iTunes and stuff, and how you can help an artist, not just a band, like, more by going to their Bandcamp.
So, Bandcamp is, in my opinion, the best platform. It's not without flaws.
Of course.
You know, their fee structure can be a little confusing. They take royalties off the end and things like that. I mean, you've dealt with it. Like, sometimes you're like, what the fuck am I getting this fee for? All right, I guess I have to take it. But it's free to sign up. You know, you can stream your music. You can set pay downloads. You can sell physical merchandise. The issue is, unlike Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, any of that, it doesn't have the curation feature. You can't just type in heavy metal and get a playlist made. You have to actually search for these individual pages. People who are in small acts aren't getting thrown on random playlists with huge acts. So, you know, obviously with Bandcamp, artists have a lot more control. They make a lot more money. The money goes right to them. It doesn't filter through a million levels of fucking corporate bullshit before it gets their, you know, pittance or whatever. But it's harder to find bands unless you know specifically what you're looking for. When I go on Bandcamp, I'm going to a specific band's Bandcamp.
Yeah.
You know, I know that, you know, because Bandcamp's really good about sending you emails when artists you purchased from or followed release something new. You know, I'm going for a specific reason. I have Apple Music because it came for free with my iPhone, and I'm too fucking lazy to unsubscribe, and my daughter likes bullshit-ass music that ends up on Apple Music, so I kept it.
Yeah.
But when I go on there, it's, you know, sometimes I'll be like, well, let me check out what's new in heavy metal, and immediately regret it, but it's really helpful for the average person that maybe doesn't have the kind of niche music interest that I do.
For sure.
I realize that maybe 17 people in the world listen to some of the bands I love. Apple Music won't have that band, where Bandcamp might. But Apple Music has what the general people want to hear.
Yeah.
And same with Spotify, same with Amazon. The fee structures and the corporate bullshit about that is what makes them so unattractive to me.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think, or maybe do you have a recommendation for how maybe a band can start with using Bandcamp and then scale to Spotify, or do you think they should just blast it everywhere at once?
I think it should be everywhere because you're getting a different crowd.
Yeah.
You know, if you're on Spotify or Apple Music, like, somebody might randomly stumble across your shit. You can search hashtags like, you know, black metal or death metal on Bandcamp and find stuff. But it's more an exact thing. Like, you know where you're going. Mm-hmm. It's good in the sense that it allows artists to sell a bunch of shit, though. Because, like, you go on Apple Music and you listen to a band, you're like, wow, I really like this band. That's it. That's the end of your relationship with them, other than if you go and independently seek something out. You go on Bandcamp and find something you really like, you might be like, you know what, I'm going to grab a shirt and a record while I'm here. This is fucking great. I've done that all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes regrettably, because the preview tracks they put on Bandcamp aren't indicative of the whole album, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
I mean, the point is, it's all available. And Bandcamp does this thing called Bandcamp Fridays every so often, where they waive all their fees.
Yeah.
And it goes right to the artist. And I know from my friends who run labels or have bands on there that they have made some serious money. I mean, not, you know, serious rich guy money, but serious fucking money for an underground band.
Like, it's going to make a difference in things.
They're going to be able to repress their album. They're going to be able to pay for studio time. Going on tour doesn't seem like an unachievable nightmare.
Yeah.
You know, it's the little things that matter. Mm-hmm. And I've always been more interested in, like, the grassroots, the underground side of music. You know, like, I remember when I first started getting into heavy metal in 4th grade, you know, everybody was like, Metallica this and Metallica that. And I'm like, well, this shit sucks. And still, I'm 38 years old. I'm like, yeah, Metallica still sucks and always did.
Damn,
I've always been
making some enemies.
I can get worse. I fucking hate Pantera. That shit sucks real bad. Damn. I hate Slayer. Even fucking worse.
Wow, dude.
Yep. Megadeth, love them though. Don't ask for consistency.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
They were my first metal band.
Yeah.
My buddy's older brother, when I was in 4th grade, was like, you should listen to Countdown to Extinction. And I totally made my parents drive me to, like, a Sam Goody or something and bought that CD. It was like, oh my God. And I still fucking love it.
That's
but
awesome.
Yeah, I hate all that shit. I'm such a picky dickhead.
Do you have, like, a favorite Megadeth, like, album?
Countdown to Extinction.
Oh,
it's
for
just
sure.
so special to me because of, like, it was my introduction to heavy metal. Objectively, I can say Rust in Peace is a better album and has better songs, but Countdown to Extinction will always be special to me.
Yeah, for sure. I think I remember when I first got into metal, like, playing metal myself on guitar. Chris Broderick, when I started seeing him do the solos where he's dealt,
God.
I was like, what the fuck
So
is
fucking
even
good.
this, dude? It just made me like question my existence. I'm like, why am I even trying this?
Yeah.
How can I achieve this shit?
That was Marty Friedman. Like, he was
Yeah,
the
Marty
guitarist of
Friedman's
Megadeth
yeah, of course,
when I first got into him, and I just remember being like, oh my God, he's so good. And,
Yeah,
like, trying to
dude.
play shit on my shitty, dinky, like, Fender Squiire
Yeah.
Stratocaster and sounding terrible. Like, I will never be that good. And
Yeah,
I was
for
right.
real. I think like that's the difference I think between Friedman and Broderick was like Broderick was just like technically like, oh, and this is a C sharp minor like
Yeah.
you know, like a melodic minor like progression here, and then Friedman I think was more played with more feel.
Yeah.
I'm neither of them, and I never really, you know, awesome stuff though. I think a lot of what is currently like popular today is very indicative of like roots in that time, and it's really cool. Like and speaking of which, like I'm curious, like what are you listening to today that's like really like on your playlist?
So as a general rule, when it comes to like heavier stuff, I tend to gravitate towards black metal. I'm an atmosphere guy over everything. Like, you know, don't get me wrong, I love a good riff. Like I fuck with some death metal real heavy, you know, like we've discussed before. But lately I was actually talking to a buddy. Like I think like the 5 most impactful bands for me from that genre recently have been Weathered Crest, Axis of Light, Ephronach, damn, now I'm forgetting my list. I just rattled it off all super easy to my buddy. Sanguine Relic. I'm missing the 5th, and it's really going to make me mad. Whatever. But anyway, like the raw, like melodic black metal stuff.
Yeah.
You know, kind of straightforward, no frills. Like it's just like riffs and maybe a keyboard. But, you know, I also like really goofy, grandiose shit like Cradle of Filth that has like 4,000 members on stage and like 5 different opera singers for each part.
For sure.
And I also like really cheesy pop music. Like I mentioned Miley Cyrus earlier as a half joke. I mean, I just bought a Miley Cyrus record, but mostly because my daughter loves it. But I really dig her most recent record too. Like
that's awesome that you can admit to that, because I know like some people would be squashing you like right now.
It's such a corny fucking thing. There's this idea that like because you're like a heavy metal guy, that's like all you're supposed to listen to. Like that's fucking boring. Like I don't want to be in a band or hang out with anybody that only listens to heavy metal. Like you probably have no personality.
Yeah,
fuck that. That's
seriously.
boring.
It's interesting. I played a show one time with one of the guys I'm making the band with now. He was in a band called Vitruvia, and at the time they had a merch table, and it was one of the band members' birthday. And I was like, oh man, like you got some shirts over here. Like, how much are like some of these things? I had like $20 in my pocket or something like that. And they're like, yeah, like $35 for the shirt. And I'm like, damn, dude, I can't afford that right now. I was like, all right, but you got like some booty shorts over here. Like, how much are those? And he's like, those are like $25. I'm like, God damn it. All right, look, I'll make you a deal. Because I was going on stage with my band, like after them. I'm like, all right, I'll wear those on stage if you just give me them. They're pink. And I went on stage, dude, like the stigmatism, and that was like my metalcore band. Like, dude, no one was about it. Like everyone in the crowd was like, dude, what is this? And it was just like, oh, like, you know, we're playing just as heavy as normal. So it just like was such a random thing. It's crazy, like the homophobia.
Oh yeah, it's so fucking
dude.
dumb. Like who cares? Everybody's here for the same reason. Like mind your fucking business. No one's hurting anybody. Just, you know, don't worry about that dumb image shit.
Yeah, for real.
And
that's exactly like what I was protesting, because like our band, like another show, like I showed up like with like the fucking, you know, crazy baggy like fucking black pants and like a leather jacket, and then my lead guitarist was wearing like a fucking gray suit, like he was at a night at the Roxbury, and then the drummer was wearing like bluegrass shit, just because like it was like we were so against like what a metal band's supposed to look like.
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, it's the same thing with, like, the genre, especially black metal, because fucking...
Oh, yeah, dude.
Those people. You know, there's, like, this idea of, like, this is exactly what you have to be. If you're not just like the guys from Norway in the 90s, like, if you don't have the same corpse paint, the same fucking ideals, if you're not talking about Satan and, like, all the dumb bullshit, like, you're not black metal. And, like, it just gets really fucking eye-roll worthy a lot of the time. That being said, there's also the other side of the coin. Like, as somebody who's legitimately loved this shit for 2 decades... You know, the disingenuous, like, for lack of a better word, poser shit really rubs me the wrong way. It's like, you know, be here because you want to be here. There's nothing wrong with being new, but don't be insincere.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's not supposed to be a welcoming genre of music. You know?
Sure, dude.
It's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable. It's supposed to be abrasive. You know, it was founded by literal fucking murderers and arsonists and Nazis. Like, it's a genre with a fucked up history.
Yeah.
That I think... deserves respect in some ways, at least in the musical traditions. Like, obviously, don't follow in the footsteps of these fucking morons, but like, have respect for where it came from, understand where it came from, and like, don't try and emulate it in a fake way.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think to touch on like the having respect for like the thing, like something that makes me mad is when I see someone wearing like a metal shirt and I'm like, oh, you listen to them? They're like, I have no idea what this is. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? It's like someone wearing a Thrasher shirt that doesn't skate.
Yeah,
like, you see that all the time lately.
Yeah, I roll my eyes at that
it's
shit.
Like, dude, come on, man. Like, at least know what the fuck you're wearing.
Yeah, I mean, that's a bit ridiculous. I mean, that being said, there's been plenty of times that I've been out wearing a metal shirt and somebody asked me about it. I'm like, I don't know, man. I got it from a thrift store, but that's because I want to avoid conversation. It's not,
yeah.
you know, like, I just don't want to talk to another metalhead because generally, like,
they're shitheads.
Yeah, it's like, cool. I wanted to meet a real life caveman. I was always curious.
Yeah. That's fucking funny, man. Yeah, that's good stuff, man. So I'm kind of curious, like, what are your strategies? So, like, if you were gonna start a band right now, how would you go about like the business end of things and maybe the creative venture end of things? Like, what are the steps? Like, do you wait like till you have X amount of material before you're distributing it and stuff? Like, how do you go about it?
So my thoughts are this, and I'm actually involved in 2 projects right now, which are just studio-based black metal projects, which I'm not going to give the name of because it doesn't matter. The whole point of doing them for me is that it's pure catharsis. It's me and my friends making music that means something to us and getting it out there. Obviously, that's not the typical path. You know, we don't intend to play shows. Hopefully nobody will ever find out who we are. Cool. But for a typical band, I think you just need something. Like, you need a product. If you want to get out there, if you want to get noticed, you need songs. You know, I see a lot of bands, you know, playing their first shows. Like, we have 15 fucking shirt designs and 5 songs. Like, that, I think, is just completely stupid.
Yeah.
I think you should have more music than you have merch, you know, at all times. I mean, except maybe once you're like Cannibal Corpse level, you can have 5,000 shirt designs and like, you know, however many records. But I think you just need to get out there. And I don't think you need a gimmick either. That's another thing I roll my eyes at a lot. Like, these bands that think they need fucking gimmicks. Like, I used to write, like, do a little bit of music journalism, and I still get press releases from that time for, like, new albums that come out.
Yeah.
I see these gimmicks, and I'm just like, man, like, your riffs fucking suck, though.
Yeah.
Like,
Can you give me some examples of, like, some that, like, are cringy to you?
well, I mean, Slipknot's the easiest one.
Yeah.
Like, congratulations, you're all wearing suits with numbers on it, and that guy's playing a fucking keg. Like, really? Like, why don't you play something other than your first and second fret, maybe? That would be a start. But I mean, you know, it's just plenty of shit. And it even goes to, like, the more extreme metal, like, you know, the black metal guys that are, like, born from evil in Norway. Like, bitch, you're an accountant. Like, come on, chill out. Like, just fucking play some good riffs. I don't want to hear this bullshit.
Yeah.
So,
funny.
I mean, I guess it goes back to the genuine thing. Like, I just want to hear genuine people playing music that means something to them. And even if I don't like a band, if they come off as genuine and, like, they're actually putting effort behind it, I'll respect it. I mean, I might think their music totally sucks, and I'll never give them a cent, but, you know, genuine riffs, I guess, are all I'm looking for. Yeah. And if I was starting a band to play shows right now, that would be my same mentality, that I would really focus on getting music recorded and getting it out there before playing a bunch of shows, going on tour. I bring up Sovereign again. One thing we're really, really good about is that we never starved people for new music. Like, we were about to play a tour or run of shows, we would always be like, all right, here's 2 new songs, like, catch them on the road.
That's sick. That's good stuff, man. Can you tell me some stories about, like, when you were on tour? Like, what are some of your favorite tour stories that you can tell?
I've got a couple really good ones.
Yeah.
So Sovereign, we did a tour, and our first date was Boston. I believe that was the first or second date. And our guitarist, Jeremy, had some good friends up there at a place called the Boston Rec Center, which I don't know what the building used to be, but it had basically been converted into like a punk squat. Like, there were basically like bunks everywhere where people were sleeping.
Oh, cool.
It was run by the original local crew, who are all fucking amazing guys, who are in a band called Neighborhood Shit. Really, really fun band. Hopefully they play down here sometime and I can catch up with them. Yeah. But anyway, we walk into this place. It's probably like 6 a.m. We'd been on the fucking road all night. I smell terrible. I just want to take a shower and go to bed. I walk into the shower and wasn't taking a shower. So wasn't going to be getting any sleep either, considering there was like 16 people in this room and I'm a fucking weirdo. Like, I need my quiet, my peace. So I decided to start walking around Boston. So I'm walking around Boston. Sun's coming up. This is when I was still competing heavily. So, like, I was like, I need to find this specific meal for this specific time and then figure out if I can train anywhere and, like, all this shit. We finally get settled in for the show, and before the show, we're having like a barbecue out back of the building, and like there's a couple people there. I'm like, all right, this is gonna be a tame night, you know, whatever. It's cool. Boston's a fun city. We'll just go out afterward. Not 5 minutes before the show starts, the room's filled to capacity. I've never seen this many people squeezed into a room, and I'm just like, holy shit, this is going to be a really fucking crazy show. I look over about halfway through our third song, and my bass player has a fucking Knights helmet on that he didn't know where it came from. Somebody just put a fucking Knights helmet on his head. And there's pictures of this show on my Facebook still, and like nobody in my band is wearing shirts. Some of us aren't even wearing fucking shorts because it was so goddamn hot in this place from all the body heat.
Damn.
But it just looked like a fucking brawl. Like I looked out during our set, I was like, everybody's killing each other.
Yeah,
this is incredible.
Everyone,
why is Ross
so
wearing
blood?
why is Ross wearing a Knights helmet? I remember at one point somebody kept getting too close to me, and like in between songs, I was like, you better back up. You better back up. So they got smacked with the microphone repeatedly because they wouldn't back the fuck up. I used to have this thing that if people got too close to me, I would start to unscrew the mic stand and just throw it like a javelin at people.
Yeah.
Just, like, get the fuck out of here. Like, we're doing our thing. Because to me, playing live was like the ultimate catharsis. It was just like, I am taking, like, because I take my lyric writing really seriously. I've never been one to write, like, sugary lyrics. You know, it's kind of like personal and introspective shit. So, like, when I'm losing my shit on stage, I'm losing my shit. It's for real. So, you know, if you're preventing me from getting that out in the way I want, I'm going to take steps to make sure that I'm able to do what I want.
Yeah.
We used to have a running joke in Sovereign that, like, nobody could film our sets because I was going to get this barred.
Yeah.
So, like, I would often, like, kick phones out of people's hands and shit, and, you know, things like that.
That's awesome.
Other ridiculous tour stories is just like driving through an ice storm in upstate New York. Like we played in upstate New York, like right on the border of Canada.
Like you're driving the van with all the gear in it?
Yeah, dude. Man, and it was late as fuck. And like I said, Jeremy was the designated driver always. Also because he didn't drink, so that made it easy. Although at that point I was fucking competing at 135, so I wasn't drinking either.
Yeah.
But like he was driving, and I just remember thinking like, fuck, like I'm gonna die here on this road. And we drove from like upstate New York all the way to Pittsburgh. That was a fucking hike, and it was like ice storming pretty much the whole time. And then when we got to Pittsburgh, we ended up playing, like, it was a Sunday night. It was a pretty, like, small club show, and it was fun. It was a great show. The promoter up there, Chris Woodford, really great guy, took super good care of us. But some random dude stumbles in from the street and starts throwing money at us like we're strippers. And, like, so my ridiculous-ass bass player is, like, playing and grinding on him while this dude's throwing money at him, and the dude keeps being like, hey, man, what are you doing that for? And it's like, yo, you're throwing dollar bills at him like he's a stripper. He's going to act like one. Like, fucking chill out.
That's funny as shit.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
It just goes to show like the homophobia.
Oh yeah, it's fucking
It's
everywhere.
so everywhere.
It was that was a wild fucking tour, and then
awesome,
that was we ended up kicking our guitarist out after this
man.
because he was just such a fucking wiener. I'm not even gonna bother saying his name. If he
Yeah.
hears this, he's like, hey, but he was just like a man baby.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we're all like late 20s, early 30s adults. Like we made sure to do the right thing. Like call your bank and let them know you might be spending money in a lot of different places because you're going to be moving. Well, this motherfucker didn't do anything right. This motherfucker didn't even pack a pair of shoes without a hole in it. We're walking around town, and anytime I'm in a new town, other than a place to train, I always like to find a record store because I'm a vinyl nerd.
Yeah.
So we go into a record store, and he grabs like $400 worth of records to buy, and I'm like, oh shit, dude's going in. And like, I didn't know he was a vinyl guy. His fucking card gets declined while we're all in line behind him, and there's a massive line behind us. And I'm just like, bro, just fucking pay me back. And I ended up like footing the bill for his records. We step out of the record store, and he starts yelping and screaming, and we're all just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Well, a rock wedged itself in his shoe. He had a hole like this big in the bottom of his shoe. Like, you didn't call your credit card company, and now you're crying about a rock in your shoe. I was done at that point. My other bandmates were way more tolerant than me. I was like, just keep me away from him for the rest of the fucking tour. Like, yeah, I'm gonna have a kid. I don't have time for this Kitty City bullshit on tour. Like,
that's fucked, dude.
Yeah.
Oh man, dude, it's that babysitting shit is annoying whenever you travel. Like even like outside of the context of like a tour. I'm just thinking about that stuff. Like there was people like that like in the military that I was just like, dude, like I'm pretty bad, but what is going on with you?
Yeah, like I'm an unhinged lunatic, but I at least like stay in my fucking lane and like make sure that I'm taken care of. Actually, you know what? Another tour story. This one's definitely one of my favorites. So before Sovereign, I was in a band called Hollow Alarm with like a few of my still best friends. And we took our buddy Lewis on tour, who was the co-owner of my record label that I used to run. So we're in somewhere in fucking podunk-ass Virginia, and we get a hotel, and the hotel has a pool in, like, the center. It's like one of those hotels that's shaped like a big square, and at the center of the square is the pool. Well, pool's fenced in on 3 sides. On the 4th side, it's a laundry room. So we do the responsible thing after getting extremely drunk at the show and, loading our gear back in. We decide we're going to go swimming. It's like 2 a.m. So we break in through the statute of limitations is over. You can't come after me, bar association. We break in by just opening the window from the laundry room into the pool. So we're swimming around in the pool, and the other guitarist of the band, Andrew and me, are just like playfully talking shit to each other. He says something ridiculous. I pick up a deck chair and just throw it at him. And he's like, dude, wait. And I'm like, wait for, oh, fuck. He was like, yeah, wait until I want to get out. Well, in that moment, I'm like, no, we're not doing that. Me and Lewis bolt in opposite directions and clear every single piece of fucking deck furniture into the pool, like typical rock star fucking assholes. While Andrew's still swimming in the pool, like, why are you doing this to me? And then, like, we immediately, like, we're like, we got to get the fuck out of here. And we, like, dive back through the laundry room window. I'm the last one to dive through. I smash my face and shave a solid 1/4 inch off one of my bottom teeth. Jesus. I don't know what's with me getting hit in the mouth. It's a common theme, I guess. And I'm like bleeding everywhere and like soaking wet. We just bolt in separate directions to meet back at the room. I get up to the floor that our room's on, and like I said, it's shaped like a square, and the decks are at the front of the room. So some dude is like standing out front of his room, like wondering what the fuck the commotion is at this time of night, and obviously he's hearing a bunch of splashing, and now he sees all the deck furniture in the pool, and he just kind of looks at me. I'm like, yeah, it's crazy, man. Damn kids, I'm fucking soaking wet, smell like a brewery, bleeding everywhere. And he just kind of looks at me like, fuck you, dude. Get back in the room. My bandmate's like, yo, you're such a dickhead.
Yo, that's funny as shit, dude.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite tour stories because, I think a good tour involves a lot of things that probably should have gotten you arrested, but nothing that hurt anyone's feelings too badly.
Yeah. Just inconvenience the janitor a little bit.
Yeah, whatever. Just fucking go pick the chairs up.
That's funny, man. Good stuff. So let me ask you this a little bit. So what kind of inspiration did you get behind some of the band names? So you mentioned Holland Alarm and Sovereign. Like, where did those band names come from?
Holland Alarm, somebody else in the band thought up, and it was a band that I was doing with my friend Evan, who's just like an amazingly talented musician. So like he was like, "This is the band name. You want to play guitar?" I was like, "Yes, I do." And it was, I wouldn't say it was his show, but he was the drummer of the band and was still writing better riffs than I was. So like that was kind of his call. Sovereign actually came from the band Neurosis, the Neurosis album Sovereign. Like we were just kind of spitballing band names, and I kind of like the like one word band name thing, and that just came up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I don't know why I thought it was like a Pennsylvania thing. Like you named it after something in PA. I just felt like just stuck.
We did have a keystone with an upside down cross as like one of our band stickers for a while, so we had that Pennsylvania connection going on.
Yeah, that's cool. So where do you get inspiration from? Like some of the things, like do you ever like I was looking through some of the material that you sent me, and there's some interesting titles for like the albums, and there's also some interesting titles for the songs and stuff like that, and even the band names. Like where do you draw inspiration from for some of these things?
Honestly, this is the worst, most corny cliche answer ever, but it just like really comes to me. As a lyric writer, I've never sat down and been with some exceptions, sat down and been like, this is what I'm going to write about. Like, it's kind of that whole corny Bukowski thing, like, let the inspiration find you or whatever. And that's kind of how I've always been. I write a lot about like personal life shit. More recent lyrics have kind of just been like almost like time capsules for my daughter and my daughter to come, like just kind of being like, hey, the world's really fucking scary right now, but I love you, and things will be okay, hopefully, maybe. It's really just personal life shit.
Yeah.
Like I said, 38 years old, a lot of life happens in that time period.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Song titles, with Sovereign, a lot of times I would kind of be like a dickhead about. Like, we had a song called Get Killed that every time I would announce that we were about to play it, people would be like, Jesus, dude, what's wrong with you? But whatever.
Yeah. No, that's good shit, though. I think, you made a pretty good point, though. Like, most of anything that's like a good creative thing is like the inspiration comes to you from something else. I was talking to a death metal band guy, a guitarist from Black Crown Initiate, on my show before.
Okay.
And I asked him like, whenever he has writer's block, like what's the situation? And the answer he gave like shook me, because he was like, if you can't find inspiration to write something, it's because you don't have anything to say.
Yep.
And I was like, damn, dude.
I've always said that,
Yeah.
you know, as a vocalist who screams, that like if you're not actually screaming about something because you want to scream about it, like stop doing it. You know, like, and by that I mean like, why do you scream? Because it's an emotional outpour. Like, and that's why it's so easy for me to like write vocals and write lyrics, because like I have shit to say. Like,
Yeah.
and I think everyone has shit to say if they look to the right source. I mean, you know, if someone were to ask me questions about like a political subject I have no fucking opinion on, I can't write a song about that. Like, scream about something I don't give a shit about. That again, that goes back to these bands that are disingenuous and fake and like the music I hate.
Yeah. No, for sure. I remember one of my favorite songs was probably like our heaviest, like it was like a sludge metal kind of like fucking
Head
song
nodder.
Yeah, it was just like doom, like really chuggy. It was back when I was in a band called Scarlet Moon. It was called Berserker, and I fucking love that song, because I could just put myself in, like, I always envisioned, like, you ever played Resident Evil 5?
I have played maybe 5 video games as an adult.
Okay.
And that's not one of them.
And that's not what
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. So there's this dude in that has like this giant fucking axe, and he's just got this like head with like screws and shit in it. It's like fucked up. But I always just imagine that dude walking with an axe killing the whole band. Like I fucking love that. That was like one of my favorite ones to sing. But yeah, like let's talk a little bit about like the screaming and stuff, because I'm always curious to ask people about like their techniques and stuff. One of the things that you sent me earlier, you were doing some pretty intense, like, high-pitched fry vocals. I find that super difficult.
It's so fucking hard.
Dude, and another one that's pretty weird that I've heard other people do is, like, where they'll do the inhale screaming.
Yeah, that shit's horrible for you.
Yeah, dude, it can't be good. Like, it hurt. Like, I've tried, and it's just, like, it kills me every time.
I don't know if you remember, it was, like, 2003-ish. There was that lady, Melissa Cross, who did, like, the Zen of Screaming DVDs. She was, like, the vocal coach for, like, Killswitch Engage and all the Flavor of the Week metalcore bands. My girlfriend at the time bought me that DVD, and I watched it, and I was like, well, this is kind of bullshit. Like, what am I going to do? Go zzz before I sing every time? Well, it turns out that that's actually a really good idea, and maybe I should have fucking listened to a vocal coach before I fucked my throat up.
Have you done that? Like, have you fucked yourself before a show?
Yeah, I fucked myself bad. I mean,
remember Matt Hafey talks about that from Trivium. I
Yep.
don't know if you listen to that.
He's a BJJ brown belt.
Yeah.
It's a shame all his rash guards are fucking ugly as hell.
Oh yeah,
just
they
like
have
anime bullshit.
They have Trivium rash guards. Are you
like,
for real?
No, he works with that half sumo company and makes like
shit, dude.
Kichi Chaos or whatever goofy fucking name.
I did not even know that.
It's all just goofy shit.
You think you could beat up Matt Hafey?
Yeah, fucking. Are you kidding? Get the fuck out. I will do that. But you know what? He gets to work with Isan from Emperor, so like he's got that over me for the rest of his life. So even if I beat his ass, I'm still jealous of him.
Yeah, for sure. I'm a fan of like I've seen Trivium live. And I swear, like that is the most the mosh pits that show up to Trivium every time I've seen them live are the most like. I don't even know, like, the chivalry's good.
Yeah,
like, if you fall, everyone's got you up. Yeah. Like, get the fuck up, bud. Like, we're fucking, then it goes right back on. It's like, everyone's there. Like, it's a very mature moshing crowd. Like, it's, like, everyone's there for, like, the right reason.
I think last time I saw them was, like, 2004, and I was already, like, over that kind of stuff. I was already like, no, this isn't elite or extreme enough for me by then. Like, fucking
That's
cool.
Funny as shit.
Yeah. I mean, as far as like techniques go, like I definitely think that like if I could give any advice there, like not that I'm some fucking qualified professional, but I have been screaming in bands for like 20 years, is like actually do the warm-ups, like warm up, take care of your fucking throat. Learn how to actually do it. Like you're not just yelling. I see all these vocalists that like cup the mic like this, dude. And it's like, dude, you're just get a reverb pedal if you're gonna do that. Like, stop doing that.
For real.
Like actually learn how to do it. Don't hurt yourself. It's gonna sound like shit too, especially like live, like when you don't have studio magic and like. You know, when I've done vocals in black metal bands, obviously, like you bury that under reverb and delay and make it sound weird. But that's like using the voice as an instrument. Like when I play live, turn all the effects off. Like I want people to actually hear what I sound like. And part of that is like breathing right. You know, you got to make sure you can inhale through your fucking nose. If you're going to, you know, obviously circular breathing is really hard, but try to inhale through your nose as you're going out through your mouth as much as you can.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. So can you? I can do some like circular breathing stuff, but I'm curious. Like, what do you have like tips on how you do it? Can you demonstrate anything like that?
No, not really.
Not
Like,
really.
yeah,
It's just kind of like in the moment.
yeah,
you kinda
yeah.
just
Like I'll feel myself doing it
practicing
as I'm like letting out screams and running out
Yeah.
of breath. My brain's like, yo, through your nose, buddy.
Yeah.
Come on,
Yeah.
don't fucking sound like a dickhead here.
It's interesting that you say that because I'm pretty similar in the same vein where it's like I can just do it when I need to. Like,
yeah. That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
And I mean, when I play live, I like to be more of a showman. So there's also like getting out of breath there. Like, you know, if I'm climbing on shit or running around stage or assaulting the audience with random objects or something like that, I'm getting out of breath. Like,
For sure, bro.
So it's especially important to be breathing.
Yeah. That's interesting stuff. So what are some like techniques that you'll use like before you warm up for like a show?
The zzz thing
Yeah.
I was making fun of,
Yeah.
like that's actually my go-to. Like I do like that, and I go
Yeah.
like higher in pitch, lower in pitch, like more intense, less intense. You know, all the stupid shit that you would see in
Yeah.
like some choir movie, like, you know,
Yeah.
the fa 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 or
Yeah,
whatever,
for
like
sure.
all that shit.
Yeah, there's one that I always like to like loosen the jaw, like you say, unique New York. That one's a really good one. And then like for when I do have to do distorted stuff, I always think of like I'm a teenager. My mom told me to clean my room, and I go, oh, like that really loosens that part of it up. So it's always like an interesting thing. Do you have any other like magic stuff that you found?
My big thing was when we would have a ton of shows in a row. And this was especially funny when I was, like I said, when I was competing at 135, because I had to be so strict about my diet. I would fast and eat nothing but fucking honey to coat my vocal cords and shit. Now, I don't know how much that actually works versus the placebo effect, but it sounded fucking good. And I would always like, I can't count how many times I'd be like sitting in the car or like a tour van, like taking honey packets from a while.
Yeah,
like,
dude.
This is so fucking disgusting. I hate myself. And also, one thing that I do know for a fact is cold water. Like, that's a big mistake I see people make. They drink cold as shit water, and they cannot fucking sing afterwards. Room temperature is the way to go.
Yeah, I remember like whenever I have a show and like I ask like the bartender for water, I'm always like, "Yo, can you like nix the ice?
Yeah,
like, I need to give me a different one. Like this is not gonna work 100%. Even like what about like drinking anything else? Like, do you do like the lemon water thing? Like nothing with like lemon.
No.
I know people say that cuts like mucus and stuff sometimes.
When I record nowadays, I like to drink like a beer or two, just to kind of like relax myself.
Yeah,
like,
man.
You know, I'm not gonna get shit hammered and just slobber all over the microphone and sound like ass.
Yeah,
but, like,
that's interesting. You say a beer because I find like a beer can be really good if as long as you know how to burp in between lines. Like, you ever have that issue?
Oh, God.
That's the worst, yo. If you can control that, like, that's a whole other skill, dude.
Yeah. I've had to like sneeze. Like,
There
was a part where I was like having to hold a stream for what felt like 3 fucking hours, and like I'm gonna sneeze. This sucks so bad. And I literally just like pushed the microphone away, which was like, and went back to it. But yeah.
That's
recording
funny.
vocals sucks. And recording in general sucks. It's the worst part of being in a band, but like in some ways the most gratifying, because at the end you can be like, hey, look at this cool shit I made.
Is great. Yeah. It's definitely like what you said, like gratifying once you get through it. I remember like I just started learning how to like record now. Like I'm using Reaper. I don't know if you ever
I know Reaper.
Yeah. So I just started like I got like a MIDI controller and I'm starting to mess with some ideas with that and stuff. But man, I remember like back in the day, like I found Cubase on the internet for free.
Yeah.
And I was trying that and I was just so bad. Like we made like we had in our apartment there was like the basement had like a stairwell, but like we had like a little landing first before you get there. So we just put blankets up around and tried to make like a vocal booth in there when you close the door. And I just had no idea how to actually record. I just thought like you just hit buttons and you didn't have to do any EQ.
Song's done.
Work. Yeah. And then I show people and they're like, oh, it's kind of like washed out. I'm like, yeah, I guess it is. Like, just like, oh, it's so bad, dude. It's crazy once you get an appreciation for what good music sounds like, you can actually start to replicate that.
It's just crazy, like, seeing how it's changed from, like, me being 16 years old going to, like, a punk show at, like, a YMCA or, like, a community center or something to, like, most recently when I was out in L.A., shouts to Not Cult Records and Night of the Pale Moon, they put on this fucking amazing indigenous black metal fest, and just seeing, like, the level of professionalism and the proficiency of these people. Like, just thinking, like, my friends back then were playing a couple power chords on a shitty guitar. My friends now are these fucking incredible musicians with, like, worldwide renown, like, going on tour and, like, selling tons of records and shit. And it's just really, really cool to see, I guess, the evolution of how, like, because this shit is more available, it's kind of a double-edged sword. You know, anybody can make a good sounding record, which means there's a lot of terrible bullshit that nobody should have heard out there. But like, it also makes this brilliant shit that might have stayed buried accessible to more people.
Yeah, no, definitely. It kind of makes me curious. Have you ever worked with a band like during doing like the law end of things where you got to see them from their infancy to becoming something pretty good? Can you tell me a story about something like that?
Yeah. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say the name because of ethical things, but yeah, I watched a band that like basically was like bluntly fucking clueless. Like they had no idea what the fuck they were doing, becoming one of the biggest bands on their label and like doing international tours and playing like big metal festivals and things like that.
Can you just talk about like some things that like where they had growth after they kind of like got it?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, the initial consultation, they were talking about the record deal. That's why they reached out to me. They had a record deal. And, you know, like, in talking to them, like, I could tell they were really good guys. Like, all of them were, like, smart people. But like most musicians, they were fucking clueless about the business end of things. And that's, like, where I got in. I was like, well, first of all, we're going to make you an LLC. We need an operating agreement for your LLC. We're going to copyright all your fucking songs. We're going to make sure that any endorsement deals you guys get offered, I review the contracts. No just saying yes to everything. Because that's another thing. When these bands are new, they're so fucking excited. Somebody's like, here's money and an endorsement deal. Like, most people are like, where do I sign? They won't even read the contract. And then next thing you know, like, you're having to fucking play guitar at, like, some town fair in Nowheresville, Texas, because you signed the wrong deal, you know? So it was just really cool to see them, like, invest in themselves, like, care about learning about, like, what do master's rights mean? What's a 360 deal? Like, what are mechanicals? Like, the jargon and the bullshit associated with the music industry, they educated themselves on. And that would be another piece of advice I would give upcoming bands, like, educate yourself. Like, even if you're hiring professionals, which is important, learn as much as you can by yourself.
Yeah.
But, you know, now they're a huge fucking band and they do really well, and they haven't switched lawyers either, which is a really cool feeling. Like, I know they could afford like bigger names than me, but they don't want to.
Yeah.
And, you know, goes back to that loyalty thing.
Yeah, no, 100%. Have you, so I'll talk a little bit about some of like my end of things, and then I'd like to hear your take on this. I know when I was in Scarlet Moon, the metalcore band that I was talking about earlier, when we were trying to get gigs out, you would see a lot of venues really just taking advantage of like up and coming bands and just local acts and stuff. And what they would do is like they would have you, like maybe that we're playing a festival or something, and you have to sell X number of tickets.
Pay for play,
exactly. Yep. And then like you have to sell 25 or whatever of these fucking tickets, and then you only get $1 per ticket, and they all cost like $25. And whatever you don't sell, like you have to pay out of pocket
to be able to play the show.
Yeah, man, it's fucked up. Can you talk about like some things that you've seen and like anything like that
on pay for play? I very rarely speak in absolutes. Like I'm a firm believer in like gray area and nuance and almost all things, except for pay for play is not that. Pay for play is a fucking scam, and if a promoter is doing pay for play, they are a bad fucking promoter. If a venue is participating in pay for play, they're fucking thieves. There's no reason that, like, why is the band selling tickets? You're the fucking promoter. The onus is on you. Their job is to play. And yeah, I've seen that countless times. I mean, I have played shitty pay for play shows. The only time I was cool with it was when it was a band that like I loved, that I would have paid that much in tickets to go see anyway. That's different. Still shitty, but hey, that's a complete fucking scam. You see things like that. You see, guarantees for bands getting thrown out the window. Like, a guarantee is basically like, well, we're going to play this. We need $200 to play it. And then the promoter being like, well, we only made $100. So is 50 okay? Like, no, it's fucking not. And that's something I stress to bands. Like, no, that's why you get contracts in place. Like, somebody wants to if you have a guarantee, that's a guarantee. Like, you don't walk into a store with, $5 and go to buy something that's 10 and be like, well, I only made $5. And like, no, you fucking pay $10. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And these bands undervalue themselves. They're so desperate for exposure. They're desperate to play out because it's fun. They want their friends to come see them, that they'll take it, and they shouldn't. And that's where I come in. Like, I don't get mad a lot in my professional career, but when I do, it's when people fuck with bands, and it's always some shit like that. It's always somebody trying to scam them out of money, or fuck up their record deals, or something like that.
Yeah, I remember one thing we started doing is we would say, look, we'll play for free, but we're not selling any tickets.
Yeah.
So if you need an opener, like, we'll do it because we wanted to play. Like, that's what we ended up doing, and guess what? We still got called to play the fucking shows.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's crazy. You know what I mean? Like it comes back to like the merch thing. You know, if you want to make money, like honestly, like I've heard so many like bigger bands even tell me this. Like they don't get much from the show.
No.
Most of what they make is from merch.
Yep.
So that's the best way you can support like the band too. You know, for anyone out there.
Yeah. No, seriously, buy merch
Yeah.
from bands. Like, you know, it's not that expensive.
Yeah.
You know, people spend more money on way dumber shit. It's fucking $20 to you, but for a band, it might be the difference between being able to pay for their next recording or go on tour.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's this fucking idiotic concept in like underground extreme music that like we want to keep these bands to ourselves. We don't want them to be successful. I'm the exact opposite. I hope every band I love can make a fucking living off their music, and the only way to do that is by supporting them. Again, there's nothing wrong with being new. Like if somebody came to me and was like, I want to get into your favorite band, and was sincere about it, I'd be like, cool, man. Here's where to start. It's, I want to look like I'm into your favorite band. That bothers me.
Yeah.
And I think those are the kinds of people that aren't supporting bands. Like that show I mentioned out in LA, there's an extremely hype band called Lamp or Murmur. They're like the black metal underground darlings, and deservingly so. Fantastic fucking band. Fantastic people behind the band. And the merch line was fucking ridiculous. I was standing behind the merch table because, you know, those are my homies that put that show together, and I was watching my buddy who was selling merch just like record. The next fucking day, those records were on Discogs and eBay, and it's like, you came to a fucking show to make money off it. Like, what the fuck are you here for? You're just consumerist trash. Like, you're not here because you care about this. You're here because you want to make money off it. You want to be able to post on Instagram that you have a record. And like that disingenuous shit drives me fucking crazy because you know, you're making money off somebody else.
Yeah, that's fucked.
I've never seen anything like it. It seriously was like, it looked like an Apple or an iPhone dropped. You know what I mean? How there's like lines around the block. That's how this fucking merch line was. And the best part was people were still in the merch line while the band was playing. It's like, did you come here for the music? Or, you know? And this was their first American show. Like they never played in the U.S. at that point.
Dude, that's crazy, man. It's like I never even like thought about that being like a way to pirate like someone's shit. Well, maybe not pirate, but just like, you know, manipulate your ends to their means.
It's record flippers. It's a very common thing in vinyl. Like people will set like page alerts, so as soon as the page updates, people will get the record and then immediately turn around and flip it. And it pisses me off because I'll be there because I want to buy the music, and the shit sold out in 2 minutes because some fucking asshole wants to make money off it. It's like
they do. That's like a big thing with like they do that with like drop shipping shit where like they'll buy like a whole stock of something on like Amazon or something, which is crazy. Like you need a ton of money to do that shit, but it's a fucking scam for sure.
Yeah.
See that with graphics cards is a great example.
Right. It's all just exploiting people's desires for things and knowing that like those people will pay more money because where else are they going to get it? Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about like some really nasty stuff that you've seen in like contracts that like bands have gotten?
Oh yeah. I mean, the general industry standard is like you get less than 15% royalties. And what 15% royalties? It's not 15 cents on a dollar like it would normally be. That's after they hold money in reserve to pay for packaging, pay for advertising, after they've made their money back and recouped any advance. And even then, they own that music forever into perpetuity. They own master's rights. So like, good luck ever going anywhere for a better deal, or even if you decide you wanted to repress 10 CDs for your closest friends, nope, can't fucking do it. And that's industry standard. Yeah. And that's just so gross to me. You are basically selling your music and your soul to this fucking label for exposure, for getting it out there. And, you know, 360 deals, another industry standard. And the reason it's called 360 is because that includes merchandise. Like, they own merchandise rights, too. And, like, you see this shit all the time.
Can you talk about what does 360 deal mean? I've never heard that.
360 deal means both like your music, your publishing, your mechanicals, and your merchandise. It's everything about your band while you're under contract is owned by this fucking label.
Can you talk about some of those terms like mechanicals and stuff? Can you just touch on like what each of those means, like in a few words?
It's really hard.
Just because like I don't even know. Yeah.
It's really hard to do it in a few words.
I mean, take your time, bro. We got time.
The basic way to explain it is mechanicals. That term originated from player pianos. So when player pianos would have the music inserted in it and the mechanical arm would turn to play the music, every time that got played, royalties would be derived from that.
That's crazy.
What that essentially boils down to now is every time your song is played or reproduced, you know, on like a jukebox or something like that, publishing is the actual creation of the song, like the administration of the song, like how that gets out there. So there's like multiple levels of rights embedded in a single song. There's a statutory standard for the mechanicals. I forget what it is right now. I think it's like 13 cents or something, like some completely insignificant number. But publishing really varies, which is why when you hear of somebody selling like their publishing catalog for millions of dollars, that's why, because that gives them the ability to actually publish the music.
Yeah, like I've run into issues with that, like on YouTube, where maybe something I'll upload will have like audio. It was interesting, like the UFC I just went to see, where I got the sweet hat, in Texas. You hear some music in the background for like one of the clips in there, and YouTube made me nix that like 17-second portion of the video. I'm like, come on, man.
Probably under DMCA.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a common
it's
thing.
Crazy, man.
I deal with that shit a lot too. Like, and in really fucked up ways, like bands will get DMCA strikes against them from their label. Like
that's crazy.
Like they'll be off contract, and sometimes it's automatic. Like sometimes it just happens. It gets flagged, and nobody had any nefarious intent. But other times people use that shit as a weapon. I had a guy I just did a case for who recorded an album with his son, and without going into too much detail, obviously ethical shit. They ended up having his favorite singer, like the dad and son's favorite singer of all time, as a guest vocalist on there. A guy offered to put CDs out for them, like not in a label capacity, just like, hey, you know what? I dig what you and your son are doing. That's really cool. You had this guy on there. Let me put CDs out. Deal went pretty sour. Dude seemed to be scamming him for the CDs. I get involved at the point where dude who scammed him for the CDs is basically pulling every digital iteration. This guy and his son are posting their own fucking music up using the DMCA. It's just gross.
That's crazy. So what can you do about that? That's insane.
I mean, we threatened to sue. And I hate to say it like this, but a lot of times people get a letter from a lawyer, they shit their pants and do whatever the letter says. So, that was what we did. And that was our only option.
Yeah, I mean, sounds like it. What else are you going to do?
I mean, honestly, we couldn't have really dragged it to court either because like he had no agreement in place, which is why, again, get agreements, get contracts, get that shit all in place.
Damn, dude, that's sketchy, man. That's something that worries me, and it's one of the things where it's always made me curious about like some of these things. So I'm definitely gonna be hitting you up offline about some of this stuff, because I really want to grow like the collaborative end of like my music career, if you want to call it that, and really just like I love to work with people. Like it's so cool to see like one of my favorite things to do is just jam with people, and it's crazy that you create some magnificent art that no one will ever see if you weren't in the room at the time, kind of thing. And I want to make sure that if we do end up recording these things, which I plan to do, like with a lot of people, like I'd love to do more collaborations like I have already on the podcast, is I want to make sure if it ends up getting monetized that everyone involved gets some money, I don't want to be the one that holds, the gauntlet for like, Thanos. I don't want the Infinity Gauntlet.
Nah, I hated dealing with money, like both my label and my bands. I was like, you guys worry about this shit. I trust you, and if I can't trust you, I'll fucking strangle you. So it all works out.
For real. That's awesome, man. We have a ton of comments, so I'm just gonna look in here if we have any questions.
Do I listen to foreign metal music? Yeah, mostly foreign.
Yeah, So where's a lot of your stuff from, like that you
France,
listen to? France.
Yeah, France.
Interesting.
Yeah, a lot of my favorite bands are from France, Ukraine, Russia, that area of the world. A lot of stuff from there. Trying to think. Finland. Finland is home to some really brilliant shit.
Yeah. There's got to be some epic metal coming out of Ukraine and Russia, in the next couple months, man.
Yeah, actually, one of my favorite bands just bumped up the release of a song from their new album. Basically, like, we don't know if we're going to be alive, so here's our music, which is fucking harrowing shit.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So another question here. You ever try like throat singing? It's pretty much
I know what it is, but it just never fit into. Look, if a band I'm in is like, you should try this, and it works, I'm not opposed, but I've never actually tried it.
No, for sure. It's interesting. I had a guy on that's he's Australian, and he can do like the didgeridoo noise with his own thing.
Yeah, it's crazy
instrument.
shit.
It's awesome.
Mean, but I never really had a call for it.
Yeah.
Why don't bands flip their own records? Because they're not scumbags trying to inflate the price, basically. I mean,
Inventory or
some do though. It's always cute when you can tell because they're like, I am friend of band or whatever on like their Discogs or eBay accounts. Like, no, you're not. Why do you have an unlimited supply of this shit? You're selling it at an inflated price.
For real, that's fucked up. It's crazy, man. I remember I tried to do this when I was at DEF CON. I went to like the line to get merch was insane. So once I got there, I bought like more stuff than I thought I would want. So what I was doing is like I was walking back through. I'm like, yo, I'll sell you a beanie. I'll sell you this, that, and the other thing for like $5 more than what they will to save you time in the line.
Hey, whatever. Time is money.
Exactly.
I mean that's different though.
It is different because I'm there. You know what I mean? It's like you're paying me to wait basically.
Right. Yeah.
I ended up flipping one shirt.
Yeah. I mean, what happens more is like, okay, this record cost me $25. Who wants to buy it for $300? Like,
yeah,
it's
insane.
Like that. And it's
insane.
fucked up because, you create this secondary market that inflates the price. So that becomes the standard price for it.
Yeah.
So if you want that record, now everybody has to pay that.
Yeah. It's screwed up, man. Do you have, there's not really a way to get the law involved with that. It's just people are scumbags.
Yeah, I mean, what can you really do? It's your right to resell that product.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure like an argument could be made that like it's some kind of copyright infringement. Good fucking luck tracking that person down. Like by the time you waste the money to initiate a lawsuit for that, you could have just bought the record.
Yeah. That's pretty crazy. So let me ask you. So when you distribute let's say I put together an album similar to the guy. It was actually I'll just tell this story. I won't go hypothetically.
Okay.
So I had the Inner Urge guys on my show, and they showed me we played the album during the podcast. We were kind of talking over the music. It's like jazz stuff. Great guys. Love you guys, Mike and fucking. Oh, what's his fucking name? Jesus Christ. All right.
Other guy. His name's other guy.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Mr. Price. Anyway, so Alex Price. So we were talking about the album and stuff like that, and I remember getting a copyright flag from YouTube on their album, and I'm not sure how they distributed it. I think they went through DistroKid though.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if they are with a record label. I'm pretty sure they're not at the moment, but I remember disputing it because it was just like an automatic flag. Like I guess there's like, algorithm-y bots that listen to everything that's put out there. Like YouTube's getting way better at it over the years. Actually, like they won't even let me upload stuff. Like it won't they get scanned before it even gets posted anymore. And that was a thing that happened with their shit. And I was like, I didn't even reach out to them. I just disputed it, and in the comment section, I'm like, I literally have the guys who made this in the video, showing this, talking about it during the play, and it cleared like that. So like, see,
the problem with that though is even though they might have been able to do that, were they signed to a record label, they might not be allowed.
Right? Yeah, and that's what scares me. I had Jake from Rivers and Nile on, and he was telling me a similar thing, and that fucks me up. Like, it makes me scared to, like, sign to a label because I want creative rights to my stuff, you know? It's, have you ever seen a contract where, like, it's, like, 50-50 rights or something like that? Or, like, some fair use agreements, something like that?
Yeah, there are fair agreements out there. When I talk about industry standard, that tends to be, like, your bigger labels, like your Relapses, your Century Media, your Nuclear Blast, your Earache, like the bigger metal labels, which are basically just major labels that cater to a niche. But I've seen plenty of fair contracts. I've written plenty of fair ones too. For my label, we never took any rights to the music. All we would do is rights to the pressing. Like, we have the exclusive right to press this on vinyl or on CD, and we are the exclusive online storefront. And instead of paying you royalties, here's 50 copies. Sell them, figure it out on your own, make your money that way. And I have seen similar deals like that. So...
Only 50 copies?
Well, of like a 300 CD run or something like that.
So like every time you do a run, you give them some.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And, we didn't take any rights to the music. They could handle their own publishing, whatever.
Man, that's crazy stuff. So, like, as the lawyer guy that's involved with that, how do you get paid? Like, let's say, like, it's not your band, it's another band. Like, how do you get paid out of that?
So I always do flat fee up front. I just go like, all right, what do you need me for? It's going to cost you this much. I don't care how many times you have to bother me or we have to go back and forth on a contract. Like, this is what you pay. And I'm way more lenient with musician clients because
Yeah.
I just assume like this isn't your job.
Yeah, it's gonna take some run throughs to get everything
right.
lined up.
And not only that, but like I don't like breaking creative people's balls. Like I have
Yeah.
enough idiots that I deal with in other facets of my job that like I can get money from if I need to. Like I just don't feel right taking an independent musician's money, more than I need to. Like obviously I'm gonna get paid for my work. I'm not gonna do shit for free, but there's been times I've done work for musicians I really respect where I'm like, all right, look, we're going to cut my fee in half, but you are going to send me a ton of fucking records and shirt, buddy. Like,
yeah. Dude, that's crazy stuff to think about though. Like, so from your perspective, like have you ever seen bands like get involved with like a lawyer that was like kind of shysting them?
Oh yeah.
That happens a lot.
Yeah. I'm in the middle of dealing with something where this lawyer is definitely just propping their client up. It's a dispute between, two band members. One of the band members died. The estate of the dead band member is basically giving the living band member a bunch of shit, and the lawyer is propping the estate up like, oh yeah, you're totally in the right, when they're not. And this lawyer is like some high-priced New York dickhead that I'm sure is costing like $500 an hour and billing for every hour. And like I'm just watching this happen. I'm like, well, my client's completely fucking right, and this other lawyer definitely knows it because anytime I argue, they back down a little bit. So I don't understand what you're doing here, other than trying to run these people's pockets. I mean, fortunately, in this niche of law, most of us are kind of the same headspace that like we're all either musicians or we love music enough that we actually want to like do something to further it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is there a place people can go, like if they have questions, like to kind of like where's a good place to go to research like some of these things if you're looking to get
honestly that's rough.
Yeah.
Honestly, the Donald Passman book, Everything You Need to Know About the Music Industry or some shit like that. I read that at my first internship out of law school, and that really helped me. There's some general like music law resources and things like that. Honestly, looking for like law schools web pages and things like that and seeing what they have, like seeing articles written by lawyers, like that's pretty helpful stuff. And also I do free consultations. So, I encourage people, like if they have a question, just fucking reach out to me. Like,
got your Instagram right there.
Yeah.
Do you have a website as well?
Yeah, I do.
I'll have to drop it in the description.
Yeah,
as
it's just katzlawfirmllc.com. I got in at the ground floor for lawyers named Katz, I guess.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's
I
good
always
stuff.
try to like make myself accessible. I have a rule. Like if my ass doesn't need to be in a seat in front of a computer, it's not going to cost people anything. Like if I can just answer it on a phone call or something like that.
Yeah, or through a text or something.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Nice, man. Let me see. You're willing to pay for record. This guy's asking like if people are willing to pay for the record that's being like sharked up.
Right.
Like, why don't they charge more?
I mean, that's fine if a band wants to do that. I'm
Yeah.
sure as shit not paying $200 for a brand new record.
Yeah, I think that like I could answer that. It's like I want to sell to like the layman that's coming to my show.
Right.
I don't like my greater audience isn't on like I'm not when you go out to sell like merch then like when I go see a show like I ask the people to sign the shit. Like I won't like I got you know who Jason Richardson is? He's like a guitar. He actually is in All That Remains now. When
okay.
Ollie died, he took his spot in the band. He's one of the best guitarists in the world, probably. But like, I make sure I get my shit signed. Like, if I like from a band, like that's another way I gauge. Like, are these guys assholes? Like, they have this thumb up their ass, like,
Right.
Nose in the air kind of thing. And he was super cool. He's like, yeah, man, like you have, like I bring the Sharpie. It's like a silver Sharpie he throws on the black shirt. And like I love to like support the bands then, but like when you sell stuff online, like you don't even like I don't even know sometimes if stuff's legit. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you can replicate things.
Oh yeah.
You know what
can
I found
bootleg
out?
shit.
Yeah.
You can bootleg records. Like that's a common thing.
I found out recently people are replicating board games. They're like 3D printing shit and like making the board game and flipping it on like eBay and shit. I didn't know. I found out about this like
That's wild.
recently. Like I go to a board game group occasionally and they're like, yeah, this one's fake. Like you can tell because like the edges are fucked up. Like and I'm like, what the hell?
How do you
That's so
acquire
weird.
such expertise knowledge about board games?
In like
Goddamn.
and like forging. Like
Yeah.
it's pretty crazy stuff.
I mean, I think the thing is, like, we all know what a record costs, you know? Like, a single record is going to cost around $20. That's what people are going to expect to pay. A band
Yeah.
goes and charges a fuck ton of money for a record, like, no one's going to buy it.
yeah, for real.
It's the artificial scarcity, and it's the fact that, like, something is hype and in demand. Like, I'll go back to that Lamp of Murmur band. Like,
Yeah.
their records sell for tons of fucking money online because they're small runs, they're a hype band, and their shit sells out
Yeah,
fast.
the scarcity, right?
Right.
Is what makes it
And,
appealing.
and like I've mentioned this site Discogs. It's basically like eBay, but just for vinyl, CDs, and tapes. I have my whole collection listed on there, and you can see on my collection that I have test presses just because like my involvement with the circle that everybody's friends with. And like I'll get people hitting me up like, I'll give you $1,500 for this test press. I'm like, no, fuck no. This means something to me. But that's crazy that people want to do that. I mean, don't get me wrong. Somebody asked me earlier today how much the most I ever paid for a record is, and the answer is $350 on an AFI record because I really wanted it. So I'm victim to it too.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
How much do you think that's worth now? Like, have you gotten offers on that one?
Nah, it's literally the same. It pretty much like peaked.
It's just your sentimental value is why you wanted it.
Yeah, it was a record that I loved in high school. It's Sing the Sorrow, which was like...
is that the one Miss Murder's on?
No, the one before that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's December Underground, which I also... I guess that's my guilty pleasure band. I fucking love AFI, but, there are no guilty pleasures. There's just things that other people think suck.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember there's this stand-up comedian that says, like... You can't help what gives you goosebumps, man.
Yeah,
like,
it's true.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Patreon changed the entire game. That's definitely an interesting take. Patreon is a controversial one too. I know, like their user agreement has screwed a lot of people. I can't talk about like specifics right now, but I know I've read some stuff, and I am a Patreon user. But do you have any take on that? Like, do you use Patreon with any of your bands for like exclusive content?
Honestly, because Bandcamp enables subscription services, there hasn't really been a need for it. Patreon's a really good idea. Like, I actually use Patreon for a record label, which I've been meaning to cancel because the content's not fucking worth it. But it's a cool idea. You're basically like getting a subscription to support somebody on a regular basis, and like I like that idea that you're putting consistent money behind creatives. But then it puts the onus on them, like, they have to create. Like, if somebody is committing a certain amount of money in a month, I just feel like it gives the band an obligation to produce something in return. I know how it works. Like, there's tiers. You can put this much money up, and, you get this in return. But what if you can't? I have a friend who's running a Bandcamp subscription service, and, like, one of the tiers is he'll, like, write a song or something like that. And it's just like, you really want to do that, dude? Like, you're a really talented musician, but there's a chance you're not gonna be able to do that, and then people are gonna feel ripped off. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
So he's gonna write a song like every month for like
the certain like level of subscription tier or something. Like, I mean, look, maybe he'll pull it off, and if he does, fucking cool, man. Yeah. People are gonna get their money's worth. But to me, that just monetizes creativity in a way that I'm like, that's kind of fucking gross.
Yeah, eventually, like, you're gonna make some dog shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, how do you put a value on a specific song? Like, what's a good song worth to you? I don't know. I couldn't fucking tell you, and I've spent a ton of money on music. Like,
for sure.
I don't know what a song's worth. But I do like the idea, going back to Bandcamp again, you can subscribe to a label and pay like a certain amount, and you get their whole digital back catalog. I think shit like that's great.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like what? Like, can you give me an example? Like, you pay for a whole label, like you can get every band that's under that label.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, and normally at a really steep discount. I've actually done that a few times because there's certain artists, again, with the ability to like record albums in your bedroom, being at an all-time high, that are super prolific, and I maybe like a couple songs from this album, a couple songs from that album. So what's the move? I just buy it all for like a heavily discounted rate.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. That's cool. I did not know you could do that. I might have to look into that.
There's lots of cool shit you can structure through Bandcamp. I'm really, really in favor of... I mean, in an ideal world, everyone would move off that shit, but with the amount of money tied up with, like, major label acts and all the big, you know, digital...
It's just not realistic.
No, it's not. You're never going to see Jay-Z on Bandcamp selling his CD for $20 or something.
Yeah. Like, do you know anything about, like, SoundCloud?
I know a little bit. Like, I've used SoundCloud.
Yeah.
The interface is so fucking wonky, though, man. Bandcamp is great on your phone. Like, I can just be in my car, like, I want to listen to this album on Bandcamp, and just hit play and leave my phone in my cup holder. Yeah. Whereas SoundCloud, I'm like, why is this freezing? Why does this sound like shit? Who is this? This just went to a completely different artist.
Yeah, it is. I agree. Like, it's like, it tries to do, like, you ever use Pandora?
Yeah,
it tries to music genome like the next song. Yeah. I can be like, what the hell is going on here?
I get so frustrated when bands I like only put like their new songs on SoundCloud. I'm just like, why the fuck did you do this? I hate this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird, right? Because you can only have a limited number without paying or something.
Yeah, I haven't even looked that much into it. I just know as a user, personally, I'm like, this fucking sucks. And it's kind of ugly and boring, too. It's just like that orange and red, like, bar that goes, whereas, like, Bandcamp, you can customize how it looks. And, like, not that matters that much, but it is kind of cool that, like, you have this neat landing page for your band.
I like that you can do that. I wish it was more like MySpace was in the back in the day.
Yeah.
So you could really, like, go into the HTML and
I mean, maybe you can. I wouldn't fucking know.
Yeah.
I like I said, 8th grade math level, and that extends to anything that has to do with numbers or technical things.
Yeah, that's funny, man. That's interesting stuff. Andrew Cockle says, Danny Katz, I love you.
Hi, Andrew.
That's awesome. That's good shit, man. So we could talk a little bit about jiu-jitsu. So do you have like a dream matchup that you'd like to do?
Honestly, I'm definitely just an anytime, anywhere kind of person. I mean, right now I'm hurt, so that kind of puts a damper on things, and I do have a super busy schedule. I'm at a point in my life where competition is definitely not as important to me as it was, and that's something that I kind of had to work through with myself, because I was just like, does that make me a pussy? Like, am I scared all of a sudden? And
I've been there, dude.
And look, I mean, the fact is, I'm 38. I'm not going to be the best in the world. Younger kids have that covered. But at 38, I'm able to keep up with pretty much everyone I roll with, black belt, whoever. I mean, like, Andrew's a good example. He's fucking incredible, and him and I have great roles. And that's good enough for me. Will I always want to push myself in competition? Absolutely. Yeah. Will I take a match if it's offered to me and it works with my life? Yep. Will I ever prioritize jiu-jitsu over my family? Abso-fucking-lutely not. It's just never going to happen. Like, I love my wife. I'm happy being a dad. That's way more important to me. I know what it's like to win a competition.
Yeah.
Like, I felt that. I know how great that feels. I fucking love it. But honestly, nothing feels better than, like, just hanging out with my kid and hanging out with my wife and watching fucking Freaky Friday on a Sunday afternoon or whatever the hell we did this weekend, Like,
yeah.
And that's not to knock it for anybody else. Like, young kids or even, like, people my age who, like, competition is the focus of their life. Fucking cool. But my main thing is I just want to keep learning. I just want to keep improving. I want to keep being able to share this with my family. And I do want to, I competed last summer. I don't have a number goal in my head for how many times I need to compete now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you're a black belt too. Like the journey, you're finally at the point in your journey where like you can pretty much dictate what your path is, and no one's gonna fucking say anything to you.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like my whole competition career was proving things to myself. Like I never cared about proving anything to anyone else because like. Proving things to other people like is so transient, like they might believe in you one day and then the next like who the fuck is this guy? But really showing myself that I was able to compete at a fairly high level, that I was able to compete against really good guys. I mean, like I see guys like on TV and shit now, I'm like, I beat that guy. I mean, maybe we were both purple belts and maybe he would kick the fuck out of me now, but like the point is I did it. I know what that feels like.
Yeah.
That being said, I am fucking itching to get back out there. And once this issue with like my hip and shit gets resolved, like I'm really like eager to do something.
Yeah.
I just don't want to waste my time in another fucking good fight or another Naga. But like if I have
if
to,
you could do
will.
a super fight against someone, like do you have like someone in mind?
I don't really have a name in mind, honestly. Okay. Anyone. Give me anyone. I don't fucking care.
That's awesome.
Clone me and make me fight myself. Like that would be fucking cool.
I feel like everyone wants that one.
Yeah, I'd be into that. I don't really have anyone specific in mind, but there's no one I'd say no to.
Yeah. Do you think not do you think, like what is a matchup that you think would be great? Like that you'd love to see? Like is there a matchup between two people that you'd like to watch?
Not really one I can honestly, like I feel like Flo does a pretty good job of that.
Yeah.
And like I'm pretty ignorant to like who most people are too, so I can't be like, oh, this matchup between these two lesser known people because I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't, to be honest with you. I've been like not necessarily removed from the competition scene, but I'm not keeping up with things other than the big names, and like it seems like those matches are getting made anyway.
Right,
I will say this: I'm excited as fuck to watch ADCC. I don't watch sports. I've never seen a single sports game in its entirety, but I will watch every fucking second of ADCC. I love that rule set. It's always fun. It's always exciting. When my daughter was a newborn, I was definitely up at like 4 a.m. when it was in Finland or whatever the fuck it was, like watching it on an iPad. Like, just, don't wake up, kid.
That's funny. So, is that your favorite rule set, the ADCC rule set?
Yeah. I mean, I like sub only.
Yeah.
But I feel like ADCC does a good job of encouraging the action. there's been multiple times in my life where I'm like, all right, I'm finally going to do an IBJJF thing. When they legalized heel hooks, I like made sure my registration was up to date. I'm like, I am definitely doing this now. And then they're like, yeah, you can't do that for masters divisions. And I'm like, the fuck? Really? Like, I'm a black belt. Just let me rip somebody's foot off.
Right? That's so dumb, dude.
And like, sure, I could do adult. And like, I really can't remember many times I've even done masters, even though like the bulk of my competition career has been above 30. But like, IBJJF, you have all these hungry young steroided out kids who like want to kill each other, and that ain't me, man. I just
for real.
just want to go home to my wife and kid afterward. I mean, I want to fight hard. I fucking love competing, but like jiu-jitsu isn't my life, you know. You see how people who all that is, you know, competition, train, like that's their life, and that's cool. That's not mine. Like, I'm a lawyer. I kind of am busy with other things.
Yeah, for sure, man. Have you ever had to use like your law to like be involved with like jiu-jitsu? Like, have you ever consulted for like a gym or anything?
Yeah. I've helped.
Tell me a little bit about that.
I've helped a couple people set up gyms.
Like the LLC end of things.
The LLC end of things, look over agreements, things like that. I've actually dealt with gyms splitting up, and like, not definitely not naming names there, but I have helped with some pretty well-known fractures in gyms, and those fucking things get ugly.
Yeah, I bet. Can you talk about like how like the back, like you don't have to drop names or anything, but like how does the back end of a business like split like that work?
I mean, it really depends on like how professional they've been all the way through, because the problem, and you know, what can be said about jiu-jitsu can also be said about music. A lot of times these are just buddies that are like, let's go in on a lease together. Fuck it, we don't need an LLC operating agreement. Why would we need that? And then like 5 years later, somebody sleeps with somebody's girlfriend or something, and suddenly it's a big fucking deal. And you know, it's how do you value the business? What is the value of the business? Well, is it the space? Is it the students? Is it both? So it's basically the number one thing is getting to a point where people agree what it's worth. Once we're there, it's normally pretty easy, but getting there, not always so easy.
So like, what are some things that you calculate, right? Like, so like maybe it's a lease, right? So you have to calculate the negative value of the rent versus the positive value.
I don't calculate shit.
Stuff.
I have a business valuation done. No, I have a third-party professional do it. I'm not getting involved in the numbers end of things because, again, terrible at math, but also, like, it looks better in court if it has to go to court if a third party does.
That's interesting.
Now, if they come in with a number already, which has happened before in, like, these fracture situations, then fine, cool.
It's a lot easier then, if they just bring it to you, you just handle the back
As
end.
long as I can go to my client and it's like, do you feel like you're getting fucked? No? Okay, good. Then we're good here. I'll write the agreement.
Yeah.
You know.
That's cool. That's interesting stuff. Yeah, just Andrew blowing you up over here.
He's too kind.
Yeah, he is, man. And like, there's something interesting to say about like training under him, because like I visit a lot of different gyms and people are always like, oh man, like why don't you train like at X, Y, and Z place? Like if you're able to, like you're so close or something. It's like, man, like my family's at Valley Jiu-Jitsu, man. Like that's what it is for me. I think more like I love to compete. But, like, I know I'm not going to be a world breaker. Like, I just turned 30. I'm an old man now.
Oh, yeah, you're so fucking old, dude.
Yeah. But I'm in the old man division now. You
Hit me
know
up when you're having to go to a doctor for your fucking hip for the second time in 3 years.
Damn, dude. For real. I'm catching up. Don't worry. I got the receding hairline.
Dude, I got the fucking halo and shit.
For sure, man. But, yeah, man, it's jiu-jitsu's, like, it's great for so many different reasons. And, like to Kyle's point, I was even talking about this, like the culture that you find in the military is so few places in the civilian world other than jiu-jitsu, man. Like you find such unique people in jiu-jitsu. Like you're a perfect example, you know? Well,
I mean, I can't speak on the military culture because I have no involvement in that whatsoever, but I can say, you know, jiu-jitsu culture is interesting.
Are there a lot of lawyers that do jiu-jitsu?
Not that I know of. There's a couple at Saga, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
You're not the only lawyer.
I'm not
I
the only
change
one.
Your description a little bit.
No. But I will talk shit and say I'm better than all of them at Saga. And if any of you disagree, we can settle this tonight, and that's fine, injured or not. But jiu-jitsu culture is something that's interesting for me to speak on because I find myself... I'm going to phrase this as carefully as possible. You know, a lot of the popular sentiments in jiu-jitsu I strongly disagree with. I think there's a lot of fucking assholes. I think this idea that jiu-jitsu is a douchebag filter is complete bullshit. I think what jiu-jitsu can do is give you an outlet for things and give you coping skills. But if you're a fucking asshole, you're not going to walk into a jiu-jitsu academy and not become an asshole.
Yeah.
You know, this whole like jiu-jitsu is therapy thing. No, it's fucking not. Therapy is therapy. Jiu-jitsu is jiu-jitsu. Like, it's important to do things for your mind, like exercise, but like, it's not fucking therapy. Some of the shittiest people I've met through jiu-jitsu.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Damn, dude. I can't say that like I mirror every sentiment that you've shared, but it's definitely not a unique take. Like, I've heard similar things from other people for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. Like, you know, giving it like a real easy example, like Gordon Ryan's considered the best in the world right now. I think he's a fucking prick. Like, the things that come out of his mouth are really, really fucking gross a lot of the time, and complete the opposite the way I feel about pretty much everything. His jiu-jitsu itself, incredible. Nobody can question that. And then there's people like my friend Weiss, who runs Sucker Free Jiu-Jitsu, who I think is one of the best human beings alive, who doesn't get recognized because he doesn't kiss the right asses. You know, he can kill it in competition, but he's not going to get the same opportunities because he's not out there acting like a fucking jerk on social media.
Yeah.
And, you know, that obviously there's the issue of like, well, how much on social media is real, whatever. But like, I don't want to speculate. If you're a fucking dickhead on social media, I'll assume you're the same way in real life, and I have no time for you.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough, man. I think that's a pretty fair assessment, right? Like, it's not up to you to like judge the character. Like, if that's what you're putting out there, I can only assume that of you.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, look, I'm a nightmare on the internet. I say a lot of ridiculous things, but I'm the same exact fucking way in person. And like, you know, I'm not saying that these people who are acting outlandish shouldn't be able to promote themselves, shouldn't be able to make money off their sport, but I don't know. And it goes back to what I said about, you know, black belts don't know fucking anything other than being a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
What's like the cringiest thing like you've seen like a black belt do recently? Like say that they're like,
I mean, a lot of these, I am the alpha, I am the lion. Like, bro, go read a fucking book and chill out. Like, just shut the fuck up. Like, nobody needs your advice. Nobody's asking for it. Like, you know, I'm not going to learn how to be a fucking father or like a good person from any of these dickheads online. But, you know, they're always trumpeting their chest, talking about how they're like alphas or this and that and the third. And like, I don't want to fucking hear it, man. Like, you got a cool technique? Show me that, because I'm here for jiu-jitsu. I'm not here for life lessons from a guy who's probably my age, considering how old I am.
Yeah.
But like, it's that just this macho bullshit that like I have no time for.
Yeah.
And like, you know, there's nothing wrong with fucking being a man and being a manly man and being tough and fighting. Like, I grew up getting in tons of fist fights and doing ridiculous shit, but like, there just comes a point where it's so boring just to hear these same people suck their own dicks and be proud of themselves for what? Being good at fighting?
Yeah.
Fixing the world, man.
Yeah. What do you think about the sentiment that like that all cops should be like at least blue belts in jiu-jitsu? Do you think that that's like a good strategy for like minimizing like a lot of the problems that we're having with the police?
So this is one of the areas that I'm going to refrain from speaking about just for the sake of offending people. But I don't think the answer to the issues in policing is giving them more tools in the tool belt. Like, it's just not it.
Yeah,
man. I have a lot of strong feelings about policing, which I will keep off your show.
Yeah.
There are some people who, as human beings, that I really think the world of, that have unfortunately chosen to be law enforcement. I respect their choice. Wish they would have a different job, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Yep. All right. Fair enough, man. So we're actually kind of getting pretty late here. Is there anything else you wanted to kind of discuss here? I'm kind of curious about like some more music stuff, so we can talk a little bit more about that. But I just wanted to give you like some floor to.
No. I mean, I'm a blabbermouth. I can fucking talk about anything for way too long. I feel like I've already said my piece. I just want to again reiterate my thankfulness to all the guys at Saga.
Hell yeah, man.
Weiss at Sucker Free. My homies in Night of the Pale Moon and Not Cult Records, and all my other friends in their various endeavors. I feel very fortunate to be surrounded by such good people who are also very talented, because it would really suck if they were such good people and also did shitty music or were bad at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
it'd be kind of embarrassing.
Let me ask you this, actually. This is the last jiu-jitsu question. Like, do you know any musicians that do jiu-jitsu? Like, how common? It's not common.
No, it's not super common, except Eddie Bravo has, like, the worst band I've ever heard in my life. I think it's called, like, something Oh, my God, it's a fucking nightmare. It's just, like, the worst butt rock 90s bullshit. Like, it sounds like Chevelle or something. It's just a fucking nightmare.
Damn, yo. I haven't heard butt rock in like years.
I mean,
That
I think the
term is so
dickhead from
funny and shit.
Five Finger Death Punch is a black belt, and
Is
like,
he?
yeah, which explains why the riffs are so bad. He must have been choked out a lot. Like,
Dane Bramage.
yeah, for real. Like, no, I don't think it's a super common thing because
Yeah.
you know our hands. And,
Yeah, man, it's interesting. I used to rock climb a lot,
yeah.
and dude, like I couldn't play guitar after I rock climb, and then like really hard nights in gi, same shit. So
That's
it
why
was,
I
like,
don't play anymore.
dude.
I just can't. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, like,
I like no gi, man. I like
Yeah.
no gi a lot more.
Same.
So you used to be like a guitarist, right? Like, so you like, are you multi-instrumentally inclined, or like I know you mainly do vocals. But,
yeah,
like,
I'm bad at a couple different instruments. Like
fucking guy.
you know, I know music theory, so I can like play a keyboard and shit. I
Nice.
played bass, you know, for like filled in for shows and shit like that. And I
Nice.
like know how to play guitar. I'm a better songwriter than I am a player. So I'm good at giving ideas to people that can actually play them.
Yeah. Where did you get like your knowledge from theory? Like, did you study?
I
that
took
yourself?
lessons. I
Oh,
straight
nice,
up took
nice.
lessons when
Yeah.
I bought myself my first guitar as an adult. I was like, I need to take lessons. You know.
That's cool. So, like, okay, let's talk a little bit technical here. Like, this is gonna go over a lot of people's heads. Like, when you're writing like songs, technically, like, what are some things that pop out to you as like really interesting, like things that you gravitate toward? Like lately, I've been really interested in off time signature stuff,
Like polyrhythmic
Like,
shit.
yeah, dude, I really like that stuff. And what's weird is, I like to write like heavier stuff like most of the time, but like the off time stuff that I've been writing is like happy stuff, which I never write.
Weird.
It's so weird, dude. It's so weird because like I find it so difficult to write happy music.
Yeah, same.
You know what I mean? Like, because it's
Same.
like when you're happy, you want to have that emotion and keep it here. When you're not so happy about stuff, you want to channel that energy elsewhere. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's where like most of my best writing comes from, is like the negative emotion stuff. So it's so weird that the off time signature stuff is happy. It's
Hey.
like so weird.
I really tend to like open string drones with like tremolo pick, like just the fucking stupid black metal tropes of like tremolo picking like single notes and shit with an open string droning. Really like that. When I was like super into theory, when I was studying that, I would always be like, well, I want it to be like Aeolian or Phrygian or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
But like then you get into this thing where it's like, I'm making a product. I'm not writing a fucking song. And, like,
Yeah.
you know, it's been a while since I've like straight up written whole songs. Like I was working when the pandemic first started. I was working on a project with a couple of my buddies, and like that was me like picking up guitar and just like I was planning to be like the main songwriter for it. But it was just the same shit as always, just like minor thirds, tremolo picked really fast, and like, you know, occasionally throw a ninth in there to make people go, whoa.
Yeah,
He's got a
whoa,
pinky too.
yeah.
Like,
That's cool, man. I think that's really cool to write songs like with all sorts of like different like modes and stuff like that. But like with the keys and stuff, have you ever put in like some really weird noises like that you're like really interested in? Like, I'm curious, like what use specific synths or anything like that?
I had a microKORG for a while that had like 5 billion fucking different sounds, and like I was definitely fucking around with that. I was in a space rock band for a little bit with one of my buddies, and I actually had 2 separate pedal boards. I had like you know those ring modulators, the Mooger Fooger things. I had like one of those, and then a bunch of the modelers from line 6, like all lined in together. So I could just basically like step on a bunch of shit and like, all right, who wants to hear a laser gun for 10 minutes?
10 minutes.
It was just like weird, freaky
and
shit.
add
So-
some reverb and the
Right.
distortion.
Right.
Yeah,
So
I
I-
use a line 6 pedal myself. So.
and eventually, like when I started playing in Hollow Alarm, I got rid of every single pedal except for a tuner and a noise suppressor, and that kind of became my like default way of thinking with guitar. Like I just wanted like raw and like, you know, the melody coming from the notes and like the power coming from that, not just like, oh well, that's cool, I'm using all these pedals, so of course it sounds really cool. Like, no, give me a fucking power chord and some emotion, and like that's kind of where my head still is.
Yeah, nah, you like with the atmospheric stuff. That's
Yeah.
really sick. Where did you draw a lot of like your early like music influence from when you like? Because I feel like before I was like a musician proper, like I listened to like Blink-182 and stuff, you know, like my preteen years and stuff like that. Like it was like Linkin Park and things like that. And then I kind of like once I got a guitar, it changed what I was listening to for in the music. So I'm curious, like, where did you start? Like, what was your like early childhood kind of like music like, and then how did you shift?
So I phrase it like this. You know, there was the Megadeth to weird Scandinavian Nazis pipeline. It all started because I had a friend's older brother that was like, hey, check out Megadeth. Then from there, I started like looking into local shows and, you know, looking at hardcore bands like, you know, your early Victory Record shit like Earth Crisis, Strife, all that. And the way I found out about more bands was I would open the CD books. You know, this is before the internet, before, you know, you could stream things. And I'd be like, all right, let me check these bands out. So then I would go down to a store called Rock and Roll Plus on South Street and just keep buying from there. And then sometimes shit would be playing in the store and be like, what's this? This is great. Buy the CD. Go to the show, you know, get the flyers, see the other bands they play with, and then, like, you know, slowly but surely it snowballs. And kids today,
that's super cool. Like you went about it the way every band wants like their fans to go about it, dude. Like that sounds like such a like 90s movie way to do it.
I mean, kids today have it so fucking easy, and I'm not saying it in some derogatory way. Like, good for them. I'm really glad that they're able to do this, but I'm also glad that my formative years were shaped in shitty VFW halls and spent poring over CD liner notes. I mean, now, honestly, like, I don't always look at the liner notes for the records I buy because I don't have to. I know I don't. Like, first of all, my friends will recommend me some dumb fucking band I'm sure I'll love. Or, like, you know, it's on digital music. I can hear it that way.
Yeah.
But, like, back then you had to put the effort in. Like, you had to go to shows to meet these people. Like, all my friends that I've made through music at the, you know, when I was younger, like, it was from meeting them at shows, not, like, having a conversation online and then finally being like, hey, now we meet after 5 years, but we're already friends.
Yeah.
And, like, it kind of, you know, there's a parallel to jiu-jitsu there, that like that's how you meet people in the community, by making yourself part of the community. And I think, you know, for all of my dislikes about the community, one thing that is certain is that if you want to network, if you want to make friends in the community, like, you have to be present. You know, that's how me and Kyle met, because he came up and trained with me, and like it was like, wait, you like hurting people and heavy metal too? Fuck yeah. Did we just become best friends? Like, it's one of those things, you know? And that was really my influence, just like seeing all these bands, hearing all these bands, making them a part of my life, so that when I went to write music, I had a frame of reference. It's one thing that bothers me is hearing bands trying to do a sound when you know that's not what they listen to. Like, you know, somebody trying to write death metal who only listens to pop music, that's going to sound fucking fake. So for me, it was always about writing music that I would want to hear.
It's organic and stuff like that.
Exactly.
That's awesome, man. I really respect your path. Like that.
It's only because I'm old.
It's only because I'm old. Yeah, it's not that
it's
cool. Like, everyone did it back then. It's
I mean,
it's cool to hear that, because me, like, I remember those CD catalogs, and that's where my mom like got a lot of music, and that's where like my mom loves like chick bands like Gwen Stefani and like No Doubt and shit like that. So like I have like all the, like, and Michelle Branch, like I love all that shit from my childhood, but like I can't say that in certain crowds. I like that's because people are like, what the fuck are you talking about? Why do you know that song? But it's so funny, man. I love to find influence everywhere, and it's crazy what you can find, like, if you just go down a rabbit hole organically like that. And it's like that's about the most legit way to do it was back then, you know.
I mean, it didn't have another option, you know. I mean, and that's how you found out about shit, by paying attention. And I know a lot of people my age will be like shitty about like 17, 18-year-olds coming up in, you know, underground metal now, like, you guys didn't have to go through. Well, so fucking
I'm just happy that the community still exists.
Right.
Like, at this point, man, anytime like someone tells me like a new open mic's coming, I'm like, thank God there's still open mics. Like, do you ever do any open mic scene stuff?
Nah.
It's pretty hard to get, like, you can't go to like a mom and pop like brewery with playing like crazy death metal.
Nah, we were always pretty good at just getting on like metal shows or whatever. I mean, the gatekeeping is something that's just fucking so dumb to me. Like, you know, scaring away these younger kids. Like, what if you're scaring away the person who's about to make your next favorite record? Like, again, like I said earlier, I hate the disingenuous poser shit, but like, if somebody's sincere but new, like, don't be a fucking asshole. It's not that hard.
For real.
And same can be said about jiu-jitsu. Like, if somebody's there just because they want to take selfies on the mat and hashtag MMA or whatever the fuck, like, it's really easy to roll your eyes at those kinds of people. But, like, everybody sucks when they started. I was so fucking bad when I started. I was hugely fat, a fucking recent ex-smoker. I think I actually smoked for a little, even when I first started jiu-jitsu. Like, I was terrible. You know, I'm not fat, and I'm not so bad today. But, you know, there was definitely people that tried to gatekeep me in certain ways, like saying things like, oh, you should probably stick to law school or whatever. And I'm like, I'm glad I told them to go fuck themselves. But, like, not everybody's that resilient, you know? Somebody else might have heard that and been like, all right, I'm out of here.
Yeah. I'm glad that I never had that, like, that experience with stuff. And it's strange because
Oh,
you'd
Andrew would have
think-
never let that happen in his school, you know?
Oh, well, dude, like I'll say this about Andrew, and if he's still watching, he can comment on this. He'll have like, if people come into the gym to visit and they're like ego guys, like oh man, like he's a D1 wrestler, like he grabs all the color belts and he's like smash him, like yeah, we have to do that. But like if it's a nice dude, like we've had like some really like skeptical people, dude, like I treat those people so well, man, because I want so many different people on the mat. I'm here, yeah. Tell me I'm wrong, bro. Like we had a Greco-Roman wrestler guy come in recently that won, like I guess like that their Pan American champs or some world championship thing, and he was like, yo, don't go easy on this guy, like grease him up, and it was great roles, you know what I mean? He's there for that, you know? So it's having a culture that matches the energy of people that come in is important, and that gatekeeping shit is dumb, man. I couldn't agree more.
I mean, especially from a business standpoint, like what are you gonna do? Gatekeep everybody out so you make fucking $10 a month? Like that'll keep a school open. For
real, dude. I can't agree more. But yeah, man, like I think we're getting pretty late here. Cool. I definitely want to make it out to he's telling the truth. He speaks the truth. But for sure, man, it's the culture in a lot of gyms that I've been to too. Like it's interesting because I can count on like one hand how many dog shit schools I've been to, and I'm not gonna drop any names, but like most of the people that I have on my podcast are great indicators. Like if I have someone from your school on my podcast, it's because I really respect your academy. You know what I mean? Either you have incredible people there, or just the culture is some of the best people I've ever met, and I'm just honored to like call myself your friend, kind of thing. Yeah, you know? And,
that's how I feel about everyone at Saga. You know, like even if I'm not like close personal friends with certain people there, at the very least, like their presence is welcome, and I appreciate being around them. And I appreciate, you know, their participation in my life, like, you know, to whatever degree it is.
Yeah, for sure, man. But that's good shit, man. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
I'll definitely have you on again. And I'm excited to do some potential music stuff with you because I think we can make some pretty interesting stuff. We'll talk about that offline, and you guys can wait. All right, good shit, man.
All right, man.